Let's take a look then at our maps. Again, a 7-map pool. Ban, pick, ban. Pick. Jack, why don't you take us through it?
MNM have banned away Bank. That's not surprising. It's been a permaban from them throughout their CL days running into the qualifiers. They were forced to play against MNM Gaming in the qualifiers. They did win, but they don't like the map. Cafe ban coming out of Soniqs, I think that is all about respect because we've seen just how lethal MNM have been on that map.
Yeah, I mean, well, what's the next in line? If you can't, get your ban there of Cafe, what are you going to pick next if you're MNM? Oregon, absolutely. Let's go to Oregon. That's going to be a great map for them.
Oregon too.
The last time that we saw Soniqs play was against Sandbox, and all the previous times, bar like the NA finals, it's not been a good map for Soniqs, so that's actually really good.
Moving through to Clubhouse. So Clubhouse is a map that's a kind of middle of the road map for MNM, and we've seen Soniqs, they've had this consistent banning strategy throughout this whole tournament. They've tried to ban away the opponent's best maps and pick into their lesser maps, and that's exactly what we've seen coming out of Soniqs here.
It's strange as well because I know I've said this about a ton of NA teams, but this has not been a recent formed good map for Soniqs, but it's one of their favorite maps overall. So it's an interesting one. Maybe they think they've changed something up. Maybe those extra matches have been against different opponents, who knows? But Villa being the decider, I mean, this is one of those things that I'm looking over to Soniqs, and that one win against Sandbox, that's all I got.
It worries me from MNM's point of view as well, because MNM, remarkably, throughout this run, have had a greater than 50% attacking win rate on every single map in the pool, apart from Villa.
That's okay.
Attacking Villa.
That's okay.
So for a decider, I think in their minds, so Chalet, or it was going to be Chalet or Villa.
Yeah.
Both of these teams love Chalet. MNM are a particularly good Chalet team. I was hoping we were going to see Chalet today out of these two.
Yeah.
I think Soniqs have big brain that band by getting rid of Chalet, because I think MNM were expecting it. I don't really think MNM would have wanted to go to Villa, because they've had their trials and tribulations where they're not particularly great at attacking it and they're not particularly great at defending it. They manage to, when they win there, they scrape the wins.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing to note about this, probably two biggest things. One, the coach behind Soniqs, Joe Bro, is a big numbers man. There is nothing more that you need to know than that man who is very smartly dressed right behind him. Love the tie today, Joe.
He dresses.
Absolutely fantastic. Reminds me of Meepy from the EU region as well, who dresses very eloquently as well. One thing to note is that will have come down to the numbers. He is the big brain numbers man. And second to that, if you're an NA fan, or even if you're not, if you've ever watched Soniqs in the NAL and beyond, they never really play Villa. They just don't play Villa. So this going into the deciding map, and if it does go to that map 3, which surely they should be prepared for, this is a formidable opponent in MNM. God, that is a mouthful, isn't it? MNM. I think that's something that they should be prepared to go to. And clearly after their Sandbox win, 7-3, they're feeling confident on it. But that wasn't a formidable opponent like MNM is.
If you're Sandbox and Empire, MNM you're their biggest fan right now, basically. You want them to
We're all the biggest fans, Milosh.
Oh, quiet you.
All right.
Infectious. They're absolutely infectious.
All right, you know what? Let's.
They're a better version of Dan 1 Kia. Once you get on that train, you never get in.
He's comparing them to Dan 1 Kia. We got to.
You know what? This is the time. Let's just cut it off here. Jack, thank you very much. Let's get Ann and Dev on here to prepare for our next matchup. So there it is. It's Soniqs. It's MNM. Have fun.
저는 노바 선수이고요. 이제 플레잉 코치고 인게임에서는 서포터 역할을 하고 있고 샌드박스 게이밍 소속입니다. 이제 코치를 하던 OCN 코치가 은퇴를 하게 됐고, 이제 제가 이번 인비테이셔널까지만 하고 제가 그 코치 자리를 대신 하려고 생각하고 있습니다. 이제 저희 서브로 있던 굿보이라는 선수가 이제 대회를 뛸 수 있는 나이가 돼서 저도 이제 약간 코치 쪽이 관심이 있었어가지고 제가 나가고 이제 굿보이 선수가 선수를 뛰는 걸로 하기로 결정을 했어요, 팀원들끼리. 일단 저번 대회랑 달라진 게 코치가 은퇴를 했기 때문에 제가 약간 연습하면서 코칭을 하면서 했는데 약간 좀 더 에이펙 스타일이 약간 공격적인 그런 거를 위주로 연습을 해왔어요. 공격적이게 하는 걸로. 에이펙 지역에서 대회를 할 때 약간 성향이 완전히 달라가지고 약간 그거를 생각해서 조금 준비를 해야 돼가지고 약간 그거를 생각하고 준비해야 돼요. 그래서 좀 더 어려운 것 같아요. 우선 담원 기아 때문에 약간 저희가 자극을 받아서 더 잘하게 된 것도 있었고, 그래서 이번에는 당연히 저번보다 더 높이 올라가는 거를 생각하고 있어요. 매번 국제대회 때 첫 경기가 항상 거의 조에서 가장 센 팀이랑만 했었는데 이번에도 똑같이 가장 센 팀이어서 더 열심히 준비해서 꼭 이겨보도록 하겠습니다. 아시아 스타일의 공격성을 보여주겠습니다.
Welcome back, friends, to the Command Center. Again, live from Six Invitational 2022. I'm Milosh, your host. And for our next matchup being rated up, I got two wonderful people, as always. So many wonderful people here in our talent team. I can call them all my friends, or whatever I want sometimes. James
Couch.
and...
Yeah,
couch.
We call it couch before.
You are the couch.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you guys will be ready to break things down. I know you will be. But I want to ask you before we go in, how are you doing?
Bit of an early start, not going to lie. I think for you in particular.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you have to get your hair and makeup done, I love having that done.
I did well, by the way.
Really nice. I appreciate that. But you have an early start, and we had the last game yesterday.
We did.
So a little bit of less sleep, but that doesn't kill the fact that we'll have some exciting games, and they'll probably keep me awake.
I'm just running on adrenaline this whole event.
Yeah.
That's how it always happens. Once you see the team start getting riled up, I mean, you jolted awake.
See, look, James looks very young and beautiful, and I love the pasta, the colors as they are. But he's been through to a few of these events over time, so don't you worry. He's got a bit under his belt at this point. But friends, let's talk about our teams and what they have under their own belts. Let's start off with the rosters and productions. There you go. You're gonna go for it. It's Team Empire, our European team, and they are up first. And what is their shot today versus Sandbox?
Their shot today versus Sandbox is going to be very interesting. I mean, they'll have to win this game 2-0 to top their group and to make sure that they get that first bye going into the upper bracket later on. So it'll be important for them to close it out as quickly as possible, really. But looking at the performance yesterday versus MNM, that didn't really look all too shiny. So
it's such a funny situation with Empire, isn't it? Right, coming to this tournament, we're like, look, they've had some good domestic performances, but over the whole, like, they tend to not really do that well online compared to LAN. But they come out on LAN, they top their group for the start until they just fall to MNM. Now, of course, you can see from the roster graphic that only 3 of their players have photos. 2 of them have actually been quarantining in their hotel rooms while competing online. That surely would take it out of them. I think Shepard said yesterday that he's had a 38-degree temperature for about a week, so must be so difficult for them, and that finally caught up with them against MNM. Believe it or not, this team is not yet locked for playoffs. They could be eliminated today. They just need one map to lock themselves into playoffs, but if they can get all 3 points, if they can 2-0 Sandbox here, like you said, that locks in the #1 spot and that bye in playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. And if you talk about like the players on this team, we've mentioned 2 of them are in their hotel room, unfortunately, and we're seeing Dan on the screen right now. He's had a shaky performance, really. I mean, there was one day where he managed to get MVP of the entire day, going 6-0 in entry, so not losing any of his entry engagements. But the other games, his performance has been either bad or even the worst on the team. And if you have someone like Dan on your team, you can't be relying on him to perform bad, really.
And Sandbox on the other side, our Korean team, 2nd rated in Korea, and you know what? They are 5th rated in this group. The last one, there's 2 points separating them and the Soniqs, and 3 in total here, Empire. So a full win is what they're looking for. What did they have the time to prep for, as yesterday was their day off, James?
That's it. They're coming back into this, and it is the last dance for this team. Nova, their support player, is moving to a coaching role after this. They actually don't have a coach right now. The only team at this event that doesn't have a coach. They only have their analyst, Goodboy, who wasn't actually able to make it to this event. Now, after Six Invitational is done, Goodboy, their analyst, is going to turn 18. He's going to sub in. He's going to be the young gunner, and Nova is going to move into that coaching position. But for now, they're going to try and make the most of this opportunity. You can see that from their global rank, only 15th in the world based on their side points. They're only barely scraped into the Six Invitational based on their performances over the year. And it does make you wonder, are they looking at a team like Damwon Kia, the Korean underdogs that have now become a staple of semi-finals at major events? Are Sandbox looking at them and like, hey, that could be us right now. We've been here for longer than them, and they've now overtaken us.
Yeah, indeed. They got to the quarterfinals in the Sweden major, and this team plays quite slow and structured. However, they would say they learned from what didn't work last year. It's a team that can perform under pressure and has some international experience, like you mentioned before. But I think that this team might fall for sometimes, and this is where you kind of lack having no coach behind you or not being able to have that kind of engagement with someone that's having this helicopter view. Is this team tends to fall for some overly individualized playstyle sometimes.
That has to hurt sometimes, especially against Team Empire, that when they are on, they'll be able to play correctly like a team, despite the fact that they have 2 players away, like you both so wonderfully mentioned. Our map bans, though, what do they look like? Again, a 7-map pool. Ban, ban, pick, pick, ban, ban. Pick as our decider. James, take us through it.
Okay, so look, this is always going to be a tough slog for Sandbox. Empire certainly have the upper hand. They just go straight in and ban Chalet, which is their insta-ban, so no surprises so far. Chalet, not a map we've seen Sandbox play, but Empire just playing it safe. Coastline ban out for Sandbox. That is, believe it or not, not one of their most banned maps, but it is one of Empire's best maps, so that's more of a target ban.
Yeah, I mean, we know that Empire is really good on Clubhouse and Coastline, so you're going to have to ban either of those two. You're going to have to pick the one or leave the one out that you mind playing the
least.
It is. And, well, there it is. It is Empire obviously picking Clubhouse after. That makes a lot of sense. They've won 11 out of 14 games that they played on Clubhouse with a 70% attacking win rate. So that's going to be a really good map for Empire, I would say. And I'm really surprised by the Oregon pick.
Yeah, what's that?
Sandbox. They have a 25% win rate on it, and they lost to Soniqs 0-7.
Yeah, imagine going to the Six Invitational, and 2 days ago, Sandbox played a match against the Soniqs. They lose 0-7, and they're like, hey, yeah, why don't we pick that map against Team Empire?
Here's what we got at the end. Bank Villa banned out Empire and Sandbox. Finally, Cafe Dostoyevsky as our decider. Now, the way that you guys are putting this Oregon here with Sandbox picking it and their performance on it, we might not be able to see that map 3. What do you think, Jan?
Unless Sandbox pulls out something crazy and has really good adaptation. I mean, obviously they saw how Empire played against MNM yesterday in Oregon, so they should know what Empire can be bringing to the table today, but still, an 0-7 performance that you've had before, it's going to be really difficult to get over that.
Yeah, well, Sandbox have walked up to the table and gone all in. They have no second chances. Any map loss, and they are gone. Done from SI, but they have gone and picked Oregon, a map that they lost 7-0 yesterday, a map that's not too shabby for Team Empire either. Sandbox are good on Cafe should we get there, but at that same time, there's no second chances. They need to win this 2-0.
It has to be done this way. Friends, I know we can sit here and talk about these two teams and all that we have in store all day, every day, but we got to let them get into game. How about we do so? Soniqs versus MNM, Empire versus Sandbox. Let's get the show on the road. Enjoy.
And welcome back to the Six Invitational. It's Game A's European qualifier taking on Soniqs. And let's see who will be either confirming themselves or will be potentially sent home, as these last 2 games of the groups will be taking place at the very same time. One on the B stream and one right up here.
Is it really relevant to keep calling MNM the European qualifiers?
I mean, they do it themselves,
it's technically true and they did it themselves, but at the same time, they're the team right now that are so close to cementing themselves as the #1 in their group. Soniqs still just need 1 map, 1 point, and then regardless of what happens on the other stream, there's no way Sandbox can jump them. They'll at best pull level, and obviously Soniqs have that head-to-head. They have that precious bout. So, as they were yesterday, this NA team, the top seed coming from the region, they are still so close. They know it. They had the conversation and was able to talk to Joe Bro just a little and get a little bit of an idea, and today they're going to bring it. They know they dropped the ball. Now it's time to pick it back up and take it home.
That's they're going to have to do it against MNM. Now, let's just quickly run these numbers to see what everybody exactly needs to perform and to succeed. MNM, if they get 2 points, they are confirmed first place. Take over NIP, who no longer plays today. So for them, a 2-1 victory would be good. With that, Soniqs would also be secured. May it, however, be a 2-0 victory for MNM, then the Soniqs will stay at their current points, of which I believe is 4. Sandbox currently have 2 available to them, so if a clear 2-0 win comes in from their side of things, they will jump the Soniqs, and the Soniqs will be sent home to the airport. We're gonna have to put that joke in there.
No, I know it's the joke, but I like the idea as opposed to a boat, as opposed to like
it's a bit longer, but
another form of travel.
Maybe a kayak at some point. I don't know. As Sienna gets banned, we just continue putting up the stakes of the group. If the Soniqs get 1 point, so they get a map, and Sandbox wins 2-0 on the other side, Empire will be sent home. And that would mean we lost 2 of our European teams, which is definitely not something we will be looking forward to. So there's a lot at stake right here. Moral of the story, Sandbox on the other stream, they need a clear 2-0 victory. MNM, they just need a victory at all.
It says so much about the fact that there's still all these teams in the firing line on the final day of groups. Obviously, when we came in with this new theme, this new idea for the group stage of you're playing best of 3s, it's 3 points or 2-1. If it goes all the way, then it's sort of opened up these ideas of, are there going to be these pointless games? And to be fair, no. As proven by the fact that Empire, who got off to a bit of a surprise blinding start here, stumbling towards the end, still facing that axe and that chop, there is both these 2 games going parallel on either 2 streams, and both of them are as important as each other.
And something important to mention as well, the first seed in the group is that important because you get an extra life and you skip the very first game. So MNM will definitely be looking to pick that one up. Number 2 and 3, of course, they get an extra life, but will not be skipping the extra game. And number 4 in the group, well, that will have to be an incredible run if you want to win the Six Invitational. Not being able to win, or rather lose, a singular match, I'd say. Not map. They can lose a map.
They can. Yeah, you can lose a map. You can lose a map at this point. Oregon is where we're going to have ourselves setting up for a start. Now, in terms of the bans, the Ying as a sort of particular removal here. It's something MNM don't really like playing against, and Soniqs can bring it. They can have it as a bit of a sharp spear on the tip of a team that is very good aggressive gunners. But as we sort of talked about before and yesterday, what they do so well is that thread of intel and information. They know where everyone's going to be, and they utilize that on their picks and their pushes. On defense, obviously, it's a slightly different story. Where they seem to lack a bit of confidence against NIP was, well, they lost sight of them. Especially in the second map, there were these big moments where suddenly NIP was striking, and you could see that Soniqs weren't quite able to thread the pieces together the same way they do so well when they're on their form. The approach comes from small tower. Tyrant and User's going to see if they can get ahead of Neo's drone here, and a bit of a split from the opposite side from Nello and Solotov on the main side.
Yeah, the approach will be coming through. The top floor needs to be droned out first, and once that happens, Neo is already working on that first floor, checking security, seeing if the hatch is reinforced, but also, more importantly, whether or not someone will be hiding inside. Not the case, and as User starts opening up these rotations to proceed the mobility for MNM's side on that first floor, it is Tyrant that takes the very first gunfight, uses an adrenaline surge to heal himself back up just a little bit there, but Kansan able to at least put a little bit of a scare into the hearts of MNM, and as some drones and cameras are being taken out there, the Soniqs, they also know that 2 minutes now is going to be the timer that MNM will have to knock in their doors and try and break through it.
A bit of width here. It's a pretty standard clear so far. Get yourself locked in on those top couple of floors. Limit the rotations that come down, which is why we're having the body presence currently around Laundry and obviously Tyrant on the far side watching tower. Make sure the Soniqs players can't just go for a swing back up, which is how some teams like to play this. MNM is just keeping a bit of a taper, a control and a measure on that approach. Here now, we start to get the actual push against the Soniqs' site itself. The mirror window down deep towards Freezer. They've still got themselves control of around Harry Potter pillar in the bottom of the main tower stairs as well. Kansan's going to be the first to sort of step in, but with that mirror window popped, it means it's a little bit more awkward to hold it. More ADSs fall. A great deep dive in the second mirror window too. Solotov doing huge work with that drone.
Yeah, that means that both mirror windows are taken out. It opens up the attack from Laundry to potentially come through, and as now the wall will be excarced as well by Neo. In just a couple of seconds, they truly want to be punching through at this given side, at the A-bomb side. It will be redeployments of the ADS, however, from Rex, and they want to make sure that they're ready for the push to come through. As MNM, they've given away their plans right here. They will all be pushing from this side, or at least the majority of them, as there is 3 around the corner. Solotov will run. Grenades are being popped, and Neo's trying to sneak in. As Solotov with the very first, gets an injure, needs to push, finds a second.
Now it's battled back and forth, but Yeti's down onto Pillar. They can't quite get that locked in, but they're trying to keep that corner swing under elbow under their control. Solotov is able to find the final kill, puts it into a flat 3-3 though, as they've been able to still build some momentum. 20 seconds. They've snuck themselves close towards the swing round, just misses the side of the mirror. They're stacked up and dug in on that laundry corner. They clean up users, knock him out of there on the laundry side and slow the smoke on the door. Have to push through it, but dropped by Grixer, who is doing huge work on that laundry side. One more in the middle of the site, and Soniqs, they held themselves at a bit of an arm's length on the approach, but made sure it mattered on the mark.
MNM managed to get quite close there, but as they knew exactly where the push was coming from on the side of the Soniqs, every single gun was pointed in the same direction, and the trades, they went their way. They pick up that first round, a important round for them, because as we mentioned before, just a singular map is all they need to secure themselves for the playoffs, and that is the first goal for the Soniqs, and afterwards, of course, they will fight for the full 3.
Kid Storm's main hall, and they're going to set themselves stacked up, and okay, it is just a bit of a meme at this point. Emma said they struggle with the early mornings. They had a bit of a warm-up there, a bit of a wind-up. They started to drive themselves through, and they have obviously already proven they're a solid team, but Soniqs coming in with energy. Soniqs coming in with something that they might even be able to hold at reserve and start to push later, because you look at that hold, and they pulled themselves back just to the positions. They read really well where MNM were coming from, and you know, they lost the mirror windows, they lost utility, they lost some of the hold that they could otherwise have to be a little bit more solid, but they kept themselves in positions to apply those smoke canisters to the laundry door, to apply the swing round of the Vector as well. That absolutely shredded.
I wonder what it is with UK teams and not being able to perform before 12.
I hope it's not the same with I mean, maybe that's why Desonace is still in bed.
Maybe, possibly. Either way, Soniqs pick up a very good first round here. The Electric Claw will be placed actually inside the cubby to potentially cause a bit of trickery. You know, they'll be looking for it, they'll be trying to find it. There's probably not going to be a grenade landing on their side of the wall to try and find a potential Electric Claw that has been placed there. So, smart placement from Kansan. They could have found out, of course, if they have thoughts on it, if it has been seen before, and, well, that is remaining to be seen. Of course, there is going to be the Maverick on the side of MNM. Nello will be carrying that one with him, and that means that even if that Electric Claw stays, there is a way to open up the wall. It's just a lot more intensive work that needs to be done, and dangerous as well in that given position. There's not really an angle you can play with properly. And so Drone and Neo's coming in. Spots this little hole, spots the Electric Claw as well, and MNM, they will now freely be able to pick that one up.
Yeah, they had the idea of where it was, and it's always there, it's underneath potentially. It's not too often it gets tucked in on the other side of the wall, usually as a sort of bait and play, but grenades often rain in from that little tricky window just in the divot of the building itself. There's some presence coming in underneath for MNM. They're going to see if they can try and get some of this verticality locked in as the pressure starts to come across. Another Twitch drone, and that one isn't anywhere near as successful as the previous, but there is still one in pocket. Can try and play against some of that utility a little bit later. Yeti on the wide here, bottom of tower, sitting and waiting. If he can hold himself to a good level, if he can potentially push up kitchen corridor unexpected, as he's sort of eyeing the idea of it could be massively monumental, but the only monuments we're actually seeing getting set up are those drones. They're well aware of this flank watch, and they're going to make sure that they don't get caught out as it comes up white stairs.
Users below has the opportunity to toss up these grenades as the rest of MNM is slowly starting to flood or get around the site. Try and make sure there's no way out for the side of the Soniqs. Yeti, however, looking to find the very first gunfight. Puts his back right towards him, though. Users might have heard that. Knows the players out there. Saw him drop through the hatch, and his Users gets picked up by Rexon as the entry here for the Soniqs from the attic through the hatch. And that is, again, a very welcome opening for them.
There is that intel game I talked about that Soniqs do so well. The second, Yeti caught on to that, and obviously it was just a turn and a drop at the right time of, wait a second, Grixer in the meantime is able to get his second here. Or the second, even for Soniqs, and that's it. They have this cover, they have this line, and suddenly MNM, they thought they had a bit of a hold, but a single call and a couple of swings, and well, they're kind of looking a little bit worse for wear. Solotov, he's deep diving and goes for the fight onto one, cannot find the second. Rexon secures himself the second, and Neo there over the top is able to get one more, but Rexon's on a triple. He's on a bit of a tear here on the back line of Attic, wants to see if he can add one more to his tally, another head for his mantle in trophy, but Grixer is able to connect on the far side.
Well played by the Soniqs there, and as you mentioned it before, they had to drop through the meeting hall. Instantly, Rexon peeks over from the edit, gets the kill as the chase comes through. But it wasn't the only person on MNM chasing. Solotov went down into the basement as well, trying to hunt down the player that dropped that hatch, but unfortunately for him, already rotated back up long ago. The Soniqs, they started off strong here at Oregon, a 2-0 lead for now. They managed to get the entry frags as well, and even if MNM tried to fight back, the crossfires is there, the passiveness on the side of the Soniqs is as well. We don't see any over-aggression coming out. They have that man advantage. They know they have the advantage there. They can complete the trade game. So there's no point at throwing their bodies at the sides of MNM. Let them walk in. You'll punish them as they go. And it's exactly what they've done so far, as they head over towards the dining and the kitchen area now, the tertiary bomb sites. And, you know, there's always the discussion, is the meeting better or is the dining better?
I mean, we are seeing generally more of a preference for dining. You generally have a little bit more that you can work with. Shower is obviously a huge point of play for some teams, especially when you've got potentially mirror on the board, you've got those swings around that you can do, you can try and secure yourself inside that box a little bit better, and you have width, an important part that you aren't massively offered if you're generally trying to hold the big open play space, because as soon as you lose tower, or as soon as you start to lose west main, it's really hard to get any width or any attention without having to go up or down. This has that little bit extra, that little bit of a side swing, and you'll generally see a point preference, but it often does start in the same take for attackers. Small tower, smash out anybody that's trying to hold in if they are, and then break your way down.
Of course, very often MNM, or the attackers in this case, which is MNM, will be trying to get control of the showers corridor, and then the dining itself as well. Quickly plants right around the corner, not really any risk out there. As grenades are coming out, that's a lot of utility gone on ADSC. Oh, actually, the Kona station still stands, and the shield will be gone as well, so at least Rexon has something to continue playing with here. Some verticality will be attempted to see if there's any utility placed on the wall that will prevent them from opening it. It is Yeti that is playing close, has that Nitro available as well to toss in as soon as a plant would be attempted right behind the couch. That is why it never really happens there anymore. It's just too easy to counter from these long ranges from either inside the kitchen or the showers itself, which forces the attackers to take more ground.
Uses is trying to open up some of these verticality, the C4 pop, but didn't quite get the catch on the player above. And what they've sort of set themselves up for is similar to their hold on the first site here, Soniqs. They've got that arm's length. They've got that veritable no man's land inside dining, backed up with a man with very fancy glasses. Kansan is that back line to ensure that behind a mirror window, literally nothing is going to happen without him at least having the sight and awareness of it. Nello's going for this aforementioned width. He's going to see if he can take a little bit out of this hold, give themselves more of a direct swing. It isolates Yeti, who has to rotate at that point. But look at this, the mirror, as I talked about, it gives you that little bit extra. You can play it a bit further and safer. You don't just have a blind fire fight down the shower corridor.
Seems to be a bit of a worry now in the white stairs window. However, Grixer is standing by on that white window. No one left anymore in MNM, though. They rotated out, but a bit of pressure was put down, and Rexon gets the first yet again. It's the opening from the showers corridor. Grenades are being tossed in to try and at least get rid of the players inside of the kitchen, but Yeti here will go aggressive, digs himself in deep as Rexon will be dug out. It's a 2-0 and the trades continue to happen. MNM now have the upper advantage here, but they need to go for a plant very soon. 34 seconds on that clock, and the Soniqs, they still have some good positions to try and counter them with.
Grixer just dropped from the swing there onto Zulu. Tyrant's keeping it locked down. They're trying to bait a bit of a swing here, but it's Tyrant that is living up to his name. Super has to rotate down and can't quite, does get a great catch, but there is only so many bullets in a tough to control SMG. Could have gone a little bit huge there, but they just had that solidity. MNM, for the first time, find themselves around. They found themselves able to lock out a little bit of space, and they took it, and they just sort of trusted the hold of the rest.
Now, this is the side the Soniqs will have to worry about the least to lose it, right? It's the tertiary side. You only come there if you've won the other two beforehand, to some extent. And they did. Laundry and the bedrooms had been won before, and that pushed them to go towards dining. But now, after the third round has been played, Laundry will be unlocked, and they will go back there with pleasure, as they found quite some success there. They, quite early found MNM knocking at their doors, but, you know, it was a very loud knock. They knew exactly where the push was going to be coming from, and all 5 guns were pointed in that direction. And as a result, the Soniqs were able to win those gunfights, win their ones, as one might say, and pick up the round as a result. 2-1, still in the lead. The Soniqs are, and as they head over towards a fan-favorite bomb site, you could say, this is most of the time when you're playing ranked, the first bomb site you'll see.
A lot of teams go.
A lot of teams go here. Very true.
It gives you that sort of semblance of safety. You'll see some stretches, obviously, of utility depending on the teams that you play, and they have this blue extension. They have what is a traditional way into elbow, the swing with the pocket reinforcement to lock the door if somebody starts to come around that way. MNM, they didn't go for the approach last time. They might this time. They obviously have Solotov on the far side, and he's going to actually start with some pressure here. But with that Banshee with super locked in with the smokes, it's not an easy drive through. It's a bit of utility burn and kind of sometimes a lot of confidence depending on how much the time has been worn down.
Definitely is indeed. As user starts opening up again, it's the same step-by-step plan we were seeing from MNM. That's compared to the last round, as they try to create some mobility, right? They open up that top floor, they open up that first floor, make sure no one is hiding out there, and after that you start creating these rotations so you can quickly rotate around if one side of the attack seems to be going wrong. Solotov is preparing a drone into the big tower here. He's looking to find whether or not Rexon will go a little bit too aggressive, over-aggressive maybe even, so they could pick up on a potential flank. They're currently not watching it actively. Solotov is. MNM again, open up these hatches. They need to find a way into the site, and well, they all would start with an entry, which they are yet to find.
E-Box is going to be the next point of ingress as they try and swing tower. The first fight almost happens, and it almost happens again. That is a very aggressive play from Rexon, who's able to slip his way fast and then back into blue on the opposite side. But he will be well aware of the pressure that's starting to come through. So here's Yeti to come and offer some support just on the backside of the pillar there and put a little bit back against the approach here from the bottom of the tower. There's a Jaeger still trying to find a fight with the Twitch, but neither has quite got the full grasp. And at this point, Rexon's playing with more in his pocket. There was an ADS. The wall behind him sounds like it might start to fall here, which puts it in a little bit of a tricky situation. No, the pellets, there they go, by the looks of it. And they're toying with the idea, and they're trying to get this coordinated, MNM.
Waiting for a little bit of last-second information. The pellets are starting to come in now to make the position a little bit less playable. Rexon forced to go a bit more aggressive as grenades are coming around the corner. That might catch one indeed, but Rexon at the entry first. It's a 4-on-4. It's a trade that came through, and as the grenades now starting to pop, there's 50 seconds left. So your laser gates are being redeployed. Rexon's position is known yet once more, but they need to start pushing soon on the side of MNM. And well, as long as that backstairs is still under the control of the Soniqs, there's little they can do.
Rexon is causing so many problems here, and he's still causing them. Kansan gets to use this on the swing round, dropped right into Yeti's gunfire. Soniqs were entirely set up with open arms to catch all of the MNM players that tried to go for the drop drive. There's Super locked down in the corner. Nello has nowhere to really go. Another canister pops. And even trying to pass through, that would be his end at this point. No real choice or chance to do much else. Rexon might see if he can swing and get one more for the tally, but Super's sort of saying, this door's closed, this round is the Soniqs', and this is them on 3-1.
Yeah, they're taking a lead, they're trying to advance on it as well, and as you said, it's the Soniqs, their round. If you're looking at it there, not a dent has been put into their defense. Yes, they lost a singular player, but every gunfight afterwards was people dropping hatches, instantly being taken out, trying to descend the stairs, but not even reaching that floor that you wanted to reach. And that is basically the story of that bottom floor so far. And the Soniqs, they take a very deserving round win there, and moving over back towards the dorms, are looking to find yet one more. They want to have at least 4 rounds in this half. That is going to be their minimum. Of course, looking for a potential 5. If they continue what they've been doing before, then they should be successful. Of course, with the only exception, round 3, which was taken by MNM. However, every entry so far have gone into the way of the Soniqs.
It was also the round that MNM took off of either a 3K or a 4K by Tyrant. I'm not entirely sure what it entirely ended up on, but it was a big pop-off performance there, and I think that's one of the things right now is you can see how Soniqs are moving on their defense, how they're getting themselves stacked up. We pointed it out as soon as they got the call that it was Tower and Rexon was doing Rexon things at the bottom of the stairs, bouncing between Pillar and Shaiko. You're looking at Yeti moving up. You're looking at, well, Super doesn't have to do anything because he has the support there for Rexon on the far side. He's already in the right place. But then another gun. Grixer steps around into the side itself to drop the other side of E-Box if they try and get into position. That coordination, that cool and the calm is what almost carried them to a map yesterday. As they admit, they started to make a little bit of mistakes when the pressure got a little bit too hot. It's just down to them riding this skill and this caliber all the way home. MNM, they are unfortunately having a little bit of a disconnect here on their approach. It's an early game and an early start. And, well, they're sort of struggling to pull these fights out. The performance, obviously, that we've sort of had from them has been a little bit up and down across this tournament so far. Yep. Yesterday against Empire was a high up.
It was a high up. And they're looking to try and potentially fight for a first place. It is quite important. You play one game less, which means that you proceed further into the tournament. As users now with the drone will be trying to figure out whether or not there is a member inside of the kitchen. Indeed, there will be. In Yeti, they will be rotating out yet once more, playing around the dining area or the backstage where there is plenty of opportunity to rotate up or down, or potentially be hunted again by the side of MNM. But maybe they should just call to leave him be, because that is what cost them 2 players the last time around when they tried to get that one player going their way. Unfortunately, we're not able to find it. Yeti again in that basement here. The question is, will he be hunted? Will he not be? As the Twitch drones continue to try and figure out where the utility is, it gets caught off by a mute jammer, however.
Kansan, he's going to be under a bout of pressure and he's going to pull himself just a little bit out towards that Dorm's main hall window as, well, that happened. The grenades swing around and went for a fight. Solotov, though, had the lock and key. They were able to take care of that first engagement and they're still not obviously going to put the direct pressure onto the site, but that forces Yeti to go for a slow creep up, get himself positioned to potentially bite a bit later. Obviously, he has that C4 in pocket and that is a huge bit of utility if he can try and find a way to work it and manipulate it underneath. Yeah. That is why Users is where he is, though. He's going to go fishing with some grenades and see if he can pull anybody out. The ping comes through and Grixer goes out. That is how dangerous those have been this entire tournament.
Yeah, no clue that the yellow ping was coming through, and the grenade just is perfectly cooked from that bottom, tossed in at the very same time as well. And as Yeti goes for another big rotate, even more grenades are being tossed in by the side of MNM, trying to find these default positions where players could potentially hide in. And Solotov takes a small amount of damage. He wanted to go for a bit of aggressive peek through the games room. Gets healed up, however, through the adrenaline surge, and with that, he lives for now. There is going to be the reinforced hatch. It is important to know because the grenades shouldn't be able to pick him up, and Rexon, as lethal as he ever is going to be able to pick up at least the very first on the side of the Soniqs. The grenade gets tossed in, but will deal no damage due to the hatch being reinforced, and Users now will be caught off by Yeti on that flank. Solotov finds one, and Nitro gets tossed up. That might pick up a kill. It does! It is going to be the down onto Super, but the diffuser dropped as well, more importantly. 15 seconds on that clock. Tyrant takes a small amount of damage as Yeti comes in from the back. It is a 1v2 situation. The kill comes through. The diffuser gets dropped once more. It's the shotgun. A 1v1. It's Solotov versus Yeti. Solotov takes a small amount of damage. The shotgun shell misses, and MNM just barely hold on.
Solotov just able to keep that into the guns of MNM. We said Yeti had the possibility to go huge, and he was so close to going huge. Massive takes, massive kills, and massive bouts and blows, but MNM, one single player, one ring around the rosies, and a 1 versus 1, and they are the ones that are able to leave with that. 1 tack to the other one, it's 2 now. 3-2-2. Soniqs are looking for a single round. They are looking to try and get themselves that 4-2 split to give them a little bit more energy moving into their attacks, the standard and familiar that we have onto Oregon. A 4-2, and they're back to Dorms where they think they might be able to get it together.
Team kill actually, or the down came through on Super with that Nitro as well. So he managed to pick up the diffuser, which was quite important, but however, maybe deciding in the end the injury onto Super, being not in the right position at the right time, maybe a small bit of miscommunication coming through, which led to that moment. Otherwise, he could have been the difference maker. Super could have had that shotgun blast off and the player just entering the Dorms on the B-bomb side. However, that's the past. They have learned from some of these mistakes. You will assume we're heading back to the very same site. Running it back here, as MNM for the first time in this game have been able to pick up an entry frag and make that 2 afterwards, because they had that 2-man advantage at the start, which then was quickly turned around. Luckily for them, however, they already had the momentum and the advantage on the side itself, being able to play it out there, urging Yeti to come back quickly.
Soniqs, they've set themselves, as we said, back in dorms in MNM. They were able to get a couple of early entries. It was the battle back that came from the site, and obviously the movement before and underneath that started to net a little bit more shakiness in the final approach. And obviously the almost most important take there, as we said, Yeti coming up trophy and dropping the diffuser. Here, MNM, they still know that they can improve this approach. Yeti himself is actually in a different position for the first time, and, well, this is also the first time we're seeing this take directly and quite quickly towards Attic, whether Nello entirely goes through with it or is just preparing himself so he can drone with some safety. Either way, that drone is going to start its work on the opposite side.
Hasn't opened it up completely yet. It is, however, the Twitch drone to be put in a position where when the execute seems to be nearing, he could take out some of that utility. That would be crucial. Now, in the meantime, we'll be opening up. It's the Banshee that they attempt to at least disable, but lose the Twitch drone as a result. Neo, actually, getting his drone into a different kind of position in the corner just so they could see if anybody is inside the attic, which is, of course, the case as Rexon and Kenzen playing there. And Rexon has been having an amazing game so far. A very lethal player, just completely picking apart MNM in most of the rounds here. Just wasn't enough in that last round. And Solotov holding the very tight angle. It's MNM looking for a way in, but as long as the Sonics stay passive the way that they're currently playing, there is no way for them to actually find that way, and they will be forced to enter the site, to jump through these windows or push through the serial laser gates. And that is what the Sonics are waiting for.
Rexon, he's buried behind the half wall, and they start to stack themselves up to try and dig him out. The grenades are probably or potentially going to be angled and bounced over the top. They're concerned about some utility, but whether they've got the call, it's all free. They throw it through regardless. They pulled themselves back towards the double window, and another bounced out, but he's long since gone. This is the game Sonics like to play, pull themselves back. Yeti, still a loose cannon, potential for fire underneath. He obviously has the reverse on that hatch, and Nello's watching for a direct flank at this point, but it's the caution that MNM have to pay here. They're still just sort of trying to blow up holes and see if they can get that early catch. By this point, they'd at least obviously had two before their collapse on the site itself, and there's Nello trying to find the fight with Yeti underneath as the rest of them see if they can just get, well, anything from the site. Neo is knocking on the door, more explosives, nobody is home. Yeti with a huge rotation, and Nello is just going to see if they can light them in as Netty, he is just going to get that locked in. Neo and Nello either side. Yeti finds that huge swing on the back, just misses the man who's planting, can't get the connection. And suddenly it's a shotgun. Super's trying to break and ballast his way all the way back through, but he is all that is left. So sudden. MNM trusted that they had that safety of that square to plant, and Yeti just couldn't get that full connection.
Getting loud as well on the other side. MNM able to draw out the 3-3 here, and that brings us to the second half. Might not be ideal, ideally what the Sonics would have wanted, but it's not the end of the world in the end here. The attack for them now starts. MNM on the defense, and whereas that last round was a good attack for them, I think even the best they've had so far, it almost went wrong. If the C4 from Yeti didn't pop and give away his position, he would have been able to pick up Nello. Then the cover wouldn't have been there from the attic. Someone could have rotated back out, potentially end the round. It's all just what ifs, but just to tell you how important a single C4 detonated early can be for a round end in the end. It's 3-3. We are all equaled up. The Sonics, they've done their best in that first half. They managed to get 3 rounds out and now are looking to find more on the attack. We'll mention it again. They just need a singular round, a singular map, actually, for that single point they need to be confirmed for the playoffs. Because there seems to be a little bit of pressure coming from the other stream. I'm not quite sure what the scoreline is currently. Surely that will be put into our ears very shortly. As it is important. And we have a little bit of a timeout anyway.
We have a quick rehost.
We
have a quick rehost just to get everything sorted. But a 3-2-3 half, and you could see that MNM had a little bit of energy. Nello, the man with a huge load of experience, the man who has lifted a major trophy on a grand stage in Tokonami, one of the last times EU has, as a region, had that sort of level of success.
Yeah, it definitely has been a while since we've seen success from Europe coming through.
And that's us saying it.
That's us saying it. NA had a bit of a shorter history, looking back, of course. Space Station Gaming being the last one. But hey, it is all attempt this year, and potentially that will change. Who knows? Maybe it will be the Soniqs if they manage to push through. I mean, they are a very solid team. We have to say their gunpower or the gunfight ability is just very strong here. And again, that nitro could have changed everything. Of course, if it was just 2 centimeters more towards the inside of the building, it would have been a kill, not the down. It's super. It's all just what ifs at that point. But just to tell you how close the Soniqs have been in actually closing out these rounds.
I think seeing Yeti have the confidence of movement is a big part for me so far.
It is.
Because yesterday in the showdown where things went away from them, he wasn't quite able to have that confidence. He wasn't quite able to find himself moving against NIP, and whether it was because he got caught early on and felt a little bit more cautious with his approach, or a different tactic that the team wanted to approach with him. Either way, I think against MNM, if he can sort of make some of these connections happen in the right place, which is hit and miss so far, and it's very easy to kind of pick up and learn and build in and amongst that, if that makes sense. I think the Soniqs might be off to a little bit more of the opportunity. They're in good spirits.
They are. And I just received some news as well.
Oh, yeah?
I'm going to say
spoiler. Is it a spoiler alert for the other game?
It is going to be a slight spoiler.
Yeah, go on.
At this moment in time, Empire is 5-1 up against Sandbox.
Okay.
Sandbox, as we know, they need a 2-0 clear-cut win to potentially relegate the Soniqs back to the United States.
That's it.
So, for now, there is not too much pressure upon the Soniqs, but of course they won't know that. They don't get these large scorings like we do, and they just want to close it out themselves. It always feels better to qualify yourselves than have it by another team that loses or drops the ball.
It's something that gets said every single time a team gets through, not because of their game on the final game day where it matters. So if a team loses, or another team loses and you get through because of it, regardless of your result, and then you go on to lose, for a lot of teams, that's a bit of a downer because they'll say it themselves, you want to get through on your own merit. It gives you so much of a better swing. You feel more like you're ready for the fight that's going to come. You want to go hard because the way the bracket's going to get shifted and put together is you have to beat everybody. You have to beat everybody to get into the position of the hammer.
You have to be able to beat everybody, and of course you won't play every single team at the Six Invitational here, but with the lower bracket there is still quite a bunch of teams you will be playing if you manage to end up there in the end. But for now, the Soniqs will be on the attack and they're looking to close it out themselves. All they need is just a single extra point over the side of Sandbox, just so they cannot catch up. And it could either be by Sandbox dropping it or by the Soniqs picking one up themselves. It is just that 1 point difference.
1 point. That's all they need.
That's all they need indeed. Whereas MNM, they're chasing a victory. Doesn't matter for them if it's a 2-1 or a 2-0. That is what they would need to secure themselves in the first seed, which gives you an extra life and 1 game less to play in that upper bracket, which is always going to be a very welcome. It's something.
A little bit of pace here to be applied as they try and just get an idea of what's going on in Freezer. I'm curious about how the Capital is going to be deployed because you don't always see it for what he can offer them. If they can smoke themselves in on Laundry, which seems like he's currently in the position for, but obviously 2 minutes, all the time in the world for them to go for a massive rotate if needed. They're just going to see if they can weigh up the pressure onto Freezer, which if you want to take Laundry, you've got to have that crossfire. You've got to try and force them out of position. Nello might be that first line, but you've always got to keep a consideration onto users. With that mirror window, they can stack themselves up. If Nello falls into Laundry, there it is. Users is only a couple of feet from filling in the opposite spot. Rexon was eyeing up an attack there as well. And you can see the inner workings of Soniqs, the width that's coming from Kansan, but it goes against him. Nello with a huge take all the way back on the opposite side. And it's an early blow. They've lost, obviously, them Flores drones.
Yeah, that's going to be 4 RC Roteros that can no longer be used to get rid of any pieces of these utility. And as the mirror windows were actually kept in hand by users, they now have been deployed. It seems like they have a clue where the attack is actually going to be coming from, but a Twitch drone now on the chase, trying to find a way to get rid of these mirror windows. Now, of course, losing the drone itself. And as he is going on a small hunt all the way through that top floor to potentially jump the hatch and come around the corner, it is Nello waiting. Saw their actual Zap there and manages to find that drone, as they didn't use an actual drone as a bit of a distraction first. So MNM, for now, the mirror window stick.
Grenades drop towards a player in a very dangerous position. Nello really has nowhere else to go and is trusting the swing of his teammates either side. And Rexon is actually the first to be scraped, but Nello locks in his second and is somehow able to slip by. Now with them just struggling to get a bite back, 20 seconds, and Soniqs, it's now or never really, and the drones are still going to try and burr their way through, but with the backline still in place and a C4 tossed, they're just burning utility. Smoke canisters stop a clean entrance. A great take from Yeti over the top, but 10 seconds, and they haven't been able to get any boots inside the site itself. Super just charges, but dropped in the hailfire and curiosities the smoke offers. Yeti, he's curious too, but he can't quite get the same connection. It's a timeout take for MNM.
Timer runs out indeed, and there was just a little too late for the side of the Soniqs there. They did manage to get rid of the mirror window at this second attempt with that Twitch drone, but Nello already fell back to behind the laundry machine. At that point in time, he was dug into that secondary position, and that is something we talk about every now and then as well. You have your primary point, but you fall back as soon as the pressure gets too big, and with the asphyxiating balls, the smokes, the grenades, and the Twitch drones shortly coming around the corner, he felt that that indeed was the moment to fall back, make sure he is safe in that position where he can still deny the actual side entrance, but isn't necessarily at risk for anything that comes close around the corner. And now as MNM, they pick up their first offensive round. They thread into the steps that the Soniqs have been able to put up before, and they head towards the dorms themselves.
It's always still worth the consideration that it's tertiary sites, it's tertiary positions, and even half makes things a little bit tougher, but Oregon is a tale of three. It's a rhythm like a waltz, I believe, is the one that's in the... Milos is somewhere
I don't know
sitting.
much about dances, but
Milos is in the green room like, idiot, it's...
I just want to say, I said interesting 3 times in a row yesterday. It didn't come to slap me with a dictionary, so...
You will later. Now you've reaffirmed it.
I'm just saying, like, I'm still waiting for it. Seems like he might have just put a blatant lie up on the socials.
Rexon, I really like that drones, but just tucked in on the shelf behind the books and making sure they have that connection, because it's a bit of isolation that you sort of play here. We talked about the importance of the verticality when Yeti was roaming around trying to keep himself tough to spot and, well, taking tough blows out of their opponents. It's something where you can play that loose play. It looks like they've got Solotov off all the way inside the dining room for now, but as I said, with that drone there, there's Yetis that gets a big call. Look at Supers as well. They are hunting Solotov. He takes a rotate out round into Zulu, but they're almost already stacked up there. And whether the call came that there was a player already, there it is, dropped and swung round. Solotov is back and forth, but under immense pressure. Tyrant has tried to offer some. He's there on the swing and keeping Tower under control, so Solotov always has a way out.
Only 6 regular drones left at this given moment in time, and the Soniqs, they try and put up the pressure onto that kitchen area. They need to find him at some point, rather sooner than later, because he is in such a dangerous position where he can come in late on that flank as soon as you do start to ascend these white stairs. And grenades now coming in as well. We will be forced back to the back of the kitchen. As Kansan is holding the back of the white stairs, he's making sure that no one will be coming to help him, or at least one of these rotation possibilities gets cancelled out. Yet he might have spotted someone down there by the feet. It's going to be grenades to be tossed in to potentially find the player up into the dorms there, but so far, it's no one that really has been found on the MNM side. They know where they are. They just cannot quite connect the shots or the nades or anything else.
Yeti, he's still trying to fish, and as I said before, grenade fishing seems to be the most popular sport in Rainbow Six Siege. Nello sprays off the bottom of white, is able to take the head off of Rexon, shoulders a fair bit of damage, but huge energy for that player coming back after popping off before, and here he's making sure the popping off is physically and also internally the server too. Yeti's holding off. Gonna see if he can get the rest of him. There's a little bit of a dance and an elbow and a spray, and I mean, it's a tough gun to make mark as Super's trying to put some pressure on from the bottom as well, but he can't quite get that cleanliness, that clean entrance to mean he has the confidence to swing all the way around. Another grenade, another battle utility, and that one doesn't quite get the connection either. Nello is a lot of focus right now, a lot of attention. Another grenade, no. Pulls the pin or puts it back in, even at that point. Waits and pings and bounces it round, and that one swings past too. Grixis suffers on the double window. They need to start to try and make a move somewhere else. Actually, it's just underneath. The fight on double window wasn't anywhere directly. Super finally just charges his way up, misses him. There it is, just connects him. It was covered by the ACOG for just a split second. Another take. Grixis pushing his way up the opposite staircase. Yeti's going to see if he can get the stick in the meantime. 20 seconds. It's a wide swing from users. He doesn't quite have the full read, doesn't have the C4. Solotov sprays, and they're waiting, but it's a post-plant situation with Tyrant going down on the far side. A 2 versus 1 versus 1. Suddenly it's all burnt down to the big double window. Users has the lock-in. He's internal, and Kansan as this stretch goes for it, and Soniqs somehow find that small sliver and pocket round on the back of the dorms. The metal frame offers the protection, and they keep us tied up.
Well played by them. They managed to find the entry on the side, instantly make use of it and go for a plant. And as a result, the pressure is on to the Marshmallows and Molotovs, who needed to fight back. But unfortunately, we're not able to do so in time. And even though it came down to a 1v1 in the end, and well, some great takes from Nello. Super being able to pick up that kill and basically denying any presence from the white stairs. Enable the rest of the Sonics to push through for a plant.
4-4. 4-4, and once again we're in this game with the Sonics who have a little bit back in for fourth into Oregon. At least there is this stretch, a double down of the sites here. MNM think that they can try and change a little bit and adapt themselves into a little bit of safety here, and well, maybe it's users playing this role. They've pulled away from the kite clause, pulled away from the fact of trying to limit the hard destruction, because to be fair, Sonics didn't really pay any of it too much attention. Sure, they had the breach onto walk-in, but most of the push, most of the structure and solidity came from underneath the bottom of white, came from that push as far as I'm aware, based on what we had the intel at the time. There wasn't anything from Attic or from the other side of Big Tower, so why not try and limit that movement that Sonics were able to make work for them?
Yeah, exactly. And again, I'm going to be highlighting it. Super being able to get the kill onto Nello, who was playing on the top of the white stairs, is so important, because suddenly you have the opportunity to dig yourself in deep on the bunk bed and get a plant in where they are unable to do anything about it, especially with the bottom floor control. That was still in the hands of the Sonics at that given time. And yes, of course, we did see, I believe it was Solotov playing from below, trying to get some floor bangs out with the MP5, and unfortunately for him, was unable to find anybody. And the Sonics, they equalize the score. It's a 4-on-4. Grixer has to be careful, though, as there is some presence around on the back stairs here, and Tyrant could be coming up at any given moment, as we're still playing on the same bomb site. We haven't changed. It's running it back yet once more. As he opens up the door right here, he doesn't know that there is someone quite close. Finds a Twitch drone, however, which is going to be quite important.
Grixer lays in wait and absolutely picks apart Tyrant there. As he said, it was intel. I wanted to do a whole David Attenborough bit, but it happened so much quicker than we could actually get the burst on it. Users tries to set himself up with some cover there. As I said, those might be a big blow later. Solotov, he's lost that support. We talked about it before, how much attention was paid to him, but the freedom that he had was sort of solidified on that run and that escape on Kitchen Corridor. He can take the hatch as well, but it's a blind drop, and sometimes that can be entirely dangerous. Look at this. All the intel in the world. Solotov loses a fraction of his health, but he knows the pressure's going to come on. At this point, it's potentially just a, I've got to take a drop sooner rather than later, lads. As the Sonics, they're entirely circling. They have the pressure on Dining. They have both sides of Zulu. The blinds start to come through. The first body moves on. It is going to hit the rotate sooner rather than later. He's going to see if he can stick it just for a second. To be fair, he's doing a great job of wasting time, but at this point, the Sonics, I mean, they're still just trying to find him. There he goes. Off and out. He's out of there, and yet he finds users in the meantime grenade fishing.
Second kill and the second advantage coming through on the side of the Sonics right here. And that means that 4-on-4, but a 5-on-3 in the current round. Sonics are looking to put up the advantage here, are looking to pick up a 5th round. However, they need to make sure that they shut down any attempt from MNM to try and hold on to whatever it is they will bring to them. Because there is still this roamer, there is still Solotov that has the opportunity to walk right around the corner and pick up some important kills and shut them down, as a diffuser might never reach the site.
Solotov is trying to, as we said, retake, and he's looking on the backside of Zulu. Super still holding it off. They have some clarity, and they have the body swing up first. An opening take is Rexon's, and now with only 2 players left inside the site itself, they're going to see if they can try and get something back. They obviously still have some of the holes that are pieced together by the players, but with Super digging in, it's only really a matter of time before Yeti can try and feel the confidence to make the push. They are being forced and funneled away from the same plant spot that they took before, 15 seconds. It takes just one bold play. Bold is a little bit out of stretch. Neo doesn't quite get that opening take. There's a C4 that stops Kansan, but a second body hops in immediately after 5 seconds, and they're now safe to try and stick it behind the opposite side. It's a post plant. And pretty much confirmed now. It's a win on the fight on the far side. Neo finally finds it out on Trophy, but Rexon locks the main door, and Soniqs double it down on Dorms.
Well played by them there. I really have to commend the fact that they send in a player first, not with the actual case. Bait the player, bait the utility, and as soon as that Nitro popped off, all right, it's free to go now. Let's go and get that plant right behind the bunker bed. You might step into a goo mine, but at that moment in time, you just keep walking until you're into safe ground. And Grixer here, important. He might have lost his Twitch drone, but he picks up a very important kill and result. And that's exactly what I mean. Kenzen gets blown up. It is what it is. It opens up the opportunity to actually get the diffuser in. So
that's his role.
He helped them there.
We have news, don't we?
We do have news.
We do have news. If you don't want spoilers for what is happening on the B stream and the game that has the impact on this game as well, if you want to just play this out and watch it back, cover your ears.
Are you going to say it or am I?
You can tell them.
The Soniqs have qualified for the playoffs of the Six Invitational. It is Empire that have taken the first map by storm with a 7-2. But of course, no one in this match will know.
No one in this match knows.
MNM has a lot to play for. The Soniqs, all they care about is get that one map to ensure themselves for playoffs, even though they already are. But they want to do it on their own merit. They want to show that they could have done it even if Sandbox would have won 2-0.
I think, to be honest, if you're any of these teams, you want to go into any series winning it as well, regardless.
Yes, of course.
But as we saw yesterday with BDS, when the pressure was off, although it was a sad series, they played the best season they've played all week, because at that point, everything's gone. Everything is just a matter of playing, and, you know, you'll never truly know what the players know in between maps. You can assume that they're not going to tell them during the map, because if anything, it'll just distract them. It'll throw them off regardless, but it could set a mindset for them to set themselves up. Here, Soniqs 5-4. They've been able to pull themselves back that lead after just losing it for a little bit, and building a very good one in the opener.
Goes Twitch drone, send it towards the big tower there. The question is whether or not it did eventually reach it. Quickly trying to find out. Yes, it did, actually. Went in.
Good throw.
Oh, no. Wait, did it go in? Yes, it did go in. All right, never mind. I was kind of confused because he suddenly swapped at the moment we got it on the POV.
Yep.
There it is. A very good throw. Good arm here for Rene. And right now the hatches are being opened up as well, but it's out of Yeti. As the pressure needs to come down. Of course, it is back into that basement. It's a very difficult side to attack, but if the Soniqs manage to find a victory here, they'll find themselves at a very important point in the matchup where they would have 2 map points available to them. Would they lose this, then that round 11 will be the all-deciding one where someone will be receiving a map point.
Now, what we had last time we were on Laundry was quite a late push onto the actual utility. They set themselves up very well here, Soniqs, but when the push came to the shove, obviously Nello was able to get a absolute screamer of an opening kill deep from one side to the other, the same way he's playing it all the way through that Gallows of Freezer. But from that point onwards, Soniqs, they struggled to get the mirror windows, and when they were able to, then the push is coming through smokes, and it's never true clarity. Here, they have a bit more of a stretch. They have that single player on the far side. They've prepped themselves to be a little bit protected with the Grismots underneath the E-box drop if it goes a little bit aggressive. Nello is hit and stunned, and Tyrant moves into Freezer to actually see if he can rebuff some of the pressure that was coming out, but Rexon, well, he didn't predict it, true say, but he did have a bit of deja vu. Nello from deep once again finds the same kill he found before and starts things off here on Laundry in the same fashion as the previous round.
Grenade rolling right underneath the drone hole there. Tyrant almost losing his life there, but just barely hanging on. With a 5-on-4 and a man advantage is the Excaliburs that are being picked up by Nello. He is all the way deep in. He got an amazing first kill for the round on MNM's side, and he's looking to find a second one as well. Grixer, however, spots him out, smokes him out as well to make sure there's not that much he can do to damage him. Grixer somehow finds Kenzen, but at least they continue pushing. Yeti gets the kill onto Tyrant. It's a 4-on-3 with 20 seconds left. They need to start pushing through, and an extra smoke grenade gets tossed in.
But it doesn't really cover that angle that Solotov's got close onto Yeti, and it's now 2 bodies and another firing line. And sure, they've got 1 player smoked off, but the swing is just as dangerous. Grixer is able to at least pull one out of it. A handful of seconds. It's got to be a mad dash across Neo. But Nello as well has that pincer locked in twice. They've been able to hold onto Laundry, but it is the only site that they've been able to hold. So now begs the question, are they going to return to where Soniqs have been able to lock them out of Dorms twice, or do they go somewhere else? It seems currently that they're eyeing up the idea of dorms, and you start to question what are they going to question? What do they think that they can change? They obviously went in with the Legion and the Gumans to try and slow the way that Soniqs love to throw themselves into the site and go for those pushes on a dorms take. Are they going to potentially offer some support or a little bit more towards Solotov below? Are they going to see if they can maybe even pull that player further away? Because you think of the time that was burnt and attention paid and focus, it's a game of slowing that down or leaning into it.
Twice, however, on that bottom floor, the timer was run out or close to running out. So that is something to keep in mind as well, whereas they really didn't have that issue when they were attacking the dorms area. So Soniqs seem to be more efficient up onto the top floors than they are on that bottom floor, and that's quite logical. It is a very tough side to go for, and especially with the take they choose to go for, they opt to go for, which is going to be that laundry slash freezer push. It is not one that we see successful very often, but at least it's something new, and it is something that not a lot of teams will have defended to. I dare to say if they were maybe a little bit quicker in their execute, had some more time to deal with the players of MNM and didn't have to go for these, these panic sprays, these smoke canisters to quickly put a band-aid on an issue that they've been having, they might have been able to actually properly attack that site. Now, again, it is all what-ifs, and we won't be seeing the laundry anymore unless we do reach an overtime situation. Then it's very likely that MNM will go back there at some point, because they have been able to win it twice out of the 2 times they've played, unlike the dorms, which they have lost twice out of the 2 times they've played. And now the third one is on the way, and the big question will be there that which team is going to be reaching that map point first? Is it the Soniqs that then feel all the pressure be relieved of themselves if they would win this map? Or is it MNM that is still chasing that first place with NIP not playing at this very moment? Is that a Twitch drone that just got blown up?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a mix there. They obviously had the Twitch drone trying to make its way up the stairs, take care of the Banshee or the presence that might be behind it, but the grenade came in at the same time. A little bit of a lapse there, but those things happen, and you got to see if you can keep pushing past. Here's the change that we might have been able to highlight. Tyrant. As I said, previously, they've generally ignored tower. This time, they've stuck a player all the way at the top. Maybe he might be able to get a swing onto a loose player that happens to drift a little bit too dangerously on the big window, which they know has been a big point of pressure, a big sort of lead-in towards the site take itself from Soniqs. Kansan has it at arm's reach, has it with a little bit of safety with Yeti there too. They obviously have pockets full of grenades, and they're more than happy to start trying to throw them in as the first one bounces over the top. Will it get it? It will. Nello is removed with a perfect arc throw there from Yeti. And that is a huge player because he was a big problem on the slowdown before. Tyrant's still waiting. Soniqs aren't gifting him anything.
Definitely not gifting him anything here. And that very first skill is going to be so important. Suddenly that's 1 man less on the side. That gives you that advantage of theoretically 2 now, with Tyrant still being near the tower area. Of course, he rotated around. In the meantime, he is in that attic now, is looking to find a way to actually support his team. Because the tower, it is a great spot, but only if the attacking team puts himself in a vulnerable position for it, and that is something that the Soniqs have not been doing. They are covering up every single angle of that. They give them the big tower, but it doesn't really seem to matter for them.
Super, he's in a position to start opening up the floor the same way he did before. First, underneath the rotation. So if Tyrant tries to slip by, they might be able to, well, be caught. Solotov's in the close corner. He doesn't have a huge amount of places he can go, because if it starts getting opened up, well, he gets opened up. Tyrant down as well. Kansan and Super suddenly explode with the combination of the grenade that dropped the player before. Neo's a little bit lost for source right now as he's trying to keep everything a little bit more tasty. Uses with a wide swing, gets Rexon on the top of White, but look at this. Yeti's in the site. He's going for the same plant before. The C4 finally catches the diffuser. It's Kansan. They've got to push themselves onto that kit and see if they can get it recollected, but another C4 is in pocket. Will he have the time to make it all the way? He is running as fast as his legs can carry him. He's not going to get the catch. He doesn't get the player either. Super's out of there. And a second is the split difference there. Dropped and revealed. They have themselves set up with a crossfire. Soniqs, they were just able to get that recollection and just able to get themselves locked in. The communication and coordination led to them being able to stick it in the meantime. 6-5. Soniqs are sitting on map point.
Very clean round from them there, and as the Nitro came through, there was a small bit of panic from the 2 players onto the white stairs, but then they realized, all right, 10 seconds left. plenty of time at such a situation. It's a 2-on-4 at that case, right? So there is theoretically plenty of time. You just need to find that player that is about to swing through that door. And as they did, as they picked up users, they knew it is clear. Now we can start running, because if everybody just starts running into the side of that very moment, you might as well just hand it towards the MNM site there. So good recollection from the side of the Soniqs, as well, disaster almost struck them at the end of time. And now a map point for them. Even though they're already confirmed for the playoffs, they do not know that themselves necessarily. And they want to do it on their own merit. And that is what this round will be. Is it their own merit that will carry them through?
In the words of Demo, I'm assuming he's saying this somewhere, watching this game, MNM, I'm not going to try an impression of his accent, they don't have the confidence to swing fights right now.
Yeah.
He is a big believer that they can be some of the best gunners in this whole tournament. He's proven right at points and unfortunately proven wrong. There's this sort of...
It's before 12 he's proven wrong.
Yeah, it's this dib-dab of confidence. Here and on that site, you can see them generally all pulled back into it. They weren't playing with that confidence of, well, we can swing into them, we can sort of take these fights and gambits. And okay, it's not the easiest thing in the world, especially on a site like Dorms, where you know that they're going to be stacked up on that double window, but you're looking at Solotov before, he was sort of trying to burn and waste time itself, and Tyrants are looking to be gifted these moments, and it's that confidence that they'll throw up against a team like Empire yesterday, and then here against the Soniqs, they can't quite find it. They can't quite find that rhythm. And Soniqs, I mean, we know they're very talented gunners. We know that they can drive themselves into the site with that backline and the idea of a plant. I like that they have a little bit more of the control than they seem to have than NIP yesterday when things were getting a bit dicey, but it's still just one round, the separation. And here, as they go for their approach and their check, it is that site we talked about. The preference is meeting going to be where they meet their make.
It definitely will be. It is an important last side. They need to make sure that this attack sticks. You do not want to go to overtime right now. After all you've done, Soniqs, you do not want to risk it in such a situation. The meeting is there, and that means that that top floor hold is even more important than usually. You have direct verticality onto the kitchen, but also the attic, which gives you that oh-so important hatch, which you can just use to basically scout out the entirety of the meeting room and potentially guide a plant in from out there. You can stop these long angles, and as the concussions are starting to come in, Kansan swings in as well. He wants to go for these early frags. He wants to open up for the side of Soniqs. Is he going to be able to, is the big question as the Twitch drone guides him in.
That's it, that droning game, going for the intel and the call here. It's a back line. They've got themselves that locked off wall onto Trophy, and Solotov's just holding the sliver of the angle below. Tyrant, he can rotate out. He can pull himself back towards the side of Attic if he wants to into tower. Neo's making sure that nobody swings in, but it's Kansan that takes the first swing. He's able to take care of Solotov. They had a bit of a read. There's still another body inside Dorms, and it's users holding off an angle, hopped up and waiting for an approach, but you can see all of those blue bodies. Soniqs are looking to see if they can get just something else from this, as there is some pressure that's coming underneath. It's the cautious approach, because although it is a territory that you want and the fight is about to start to explode, a direct push, they don't know that Users is there. He's waiting for the moment, takes the fight onto the
he loses it out!
Swings it out with that LMG, is able to utilize all that it offers, is going to see if he can find the second. Rexen over the top of Attic. Yeti is the first to suffer. Nello with the C4 from underneath, but 30 seconds. Neo now has to see if he can retake, but he cannot. Grixer locks it off with an F2. The connection is all his. Nello is that back line. We said he was one of the most storied players and one of the only ones from EU to hold the last trophy EU held. But now he's in a position to see if he can keep out this map. The defuse is down. The post plant, all the controllers away from him, and he has a gun that doesn't have many bullets in, as we've seen it many times before. It can sing. But at the minute, I think it's a little bit of a sad song. Down to 1 HP. The bodies are coming from behind him as well at this point. They've got themselves locked in. They know exactly how to lock him out. And as we pass the 20 seconds, the hatch will likely be his undoing. They just pre-fire. They've got an LMG and they've got a Rex and Soniqs. They secured themselves. Regardless of the story on the other game, they needed one map. They look like they want to have two.
They need a one map, and they know what was going on as well. Jobro, his glasses almost fell off as well, as they have a small celebration. Of course, not the end, just the first map in the series, but you see how much it means to them. The congratulations are going out. They have made it. They are through to the playoffs here, and now it is just going to be in question for seeding. Will they be in the 4th seed or top 2/3, as those will also be quite important. The Soniqs, they've done another own merit, also were helped by Empire, of course. But they'll be very happy with that. And MNM, they can still get the first seed for the group. All they just need is the next 2 maps, but with the way that the Soniqs are currently playing, that might be a very tall ask.
I wouldn't entirely write out MNM so far. As I said, it's a confidence thing, and the best time to talk about that is between maps. The best time to sort of get the boys together, as you know Amada's going to do, and try and drive home that level of confidence because they know what they're capable of. They were able to take huge games against teams, and it's just that sort of wibbly line that they haven't quite got smooth just yet, but it is still a best-of-3 series. Both these teams now confirmed. This is a purely seeding match at this point. I mean, it's the final day, it's the final time, and this was a group where nobody was confirmed. So we'll go to a quick break before we're back with map 2. And welcome back here in the series between Soniqs and MNM, the last they'll play of 2 confirmed teams. But what we do not have confirmed is the order of teams.
That's it, right? There is still that seeding going on, and if you are new to the Six Invitational, you haven't watched it, we have yet another format that we are using. It got announced a while back, of course. But if you end up first in the group, you get, of course, that extra life and an extra game that you don't have to play. If you get second or third, you get an extra life, but you need to play an extra game in the upper bracket. And if you get fourth, you're instantly knocked down towards that lower bracket, and fifth is sent home, of course. So all these teams have been confirmed, and if we're looking at the map summary here, let's just pull up a couple of these stats. Rexon, first of all, did amazing on the side of the Soniqs, and looking at entries, they also had the advantage there. 7-5 in favor of Soniqs, just like the scoreline would be. They didn't always translate to rounds, some of them fell away, but what I did like was to see the fuse heavy play on the side of the Soniqs. They tried to go for plants wherever they could, and in the end succeeded, according to my own notes, 3 times.
I think the thing is, sorry, I swear, I love the artwork, by the way, I love the setups, but I swear every time that it's a Soniqs game, they'll always like start on Joe, and Joe Bro, and then they get back out
from Joe Bro. See the operator and then the rest of the team.
Yeah, it's good, it's cool. Sorry, I think one of the things that we saw there as well on that scoreboard versus the NIP scoreboard for the comparison of Soniqs, very briefly, is they weren't quite able to have that consistency with their gunfights because they were gunning, but there wasn't a single pop-off player. They weren't this sort of driven team that have had, I mean, at the start of the play day yesterday, statistically the best rated player in the tournament up until that point.
Yeah.
And then to see them missing that sort of little bit of that wow factor, that confidence on the push was a blow for them. The same way that we're highlighting it being a bit of a blow for MNM in these sort of early games, the early showdowns where they don't quite have that level of swing into the fights and try and take them where they want to take them, which is a game that MNM can do very well, but it's a tough one to sort of get into. And for MNM fans out there, you're hoping the team talk is one that sort of got the boys back on track and said, you can take these gunfights, go for them.
Now, the main mistake Soniqs was making yesterday against MNM was going to be that they try to play the diffuser game very heavily. And that's a good thing. However, unfortunately, time and time again, they were picked up unfortunate ways where the diffuser was dropped and they couldn't quite recover as the time ran out. And with that also, some of the players were enabled to go for these big clutches. Pino, for example. That is something that Soniqs is not enabling MNM to do. They first bait someone else in, send someone in, find out whether or not someone is there, then the diffuser goes, and it's not the diffuser that's the first to enter.
The limit of the buck there, obviously an operator that we saw Super running very well on the previous map. It takes away a lot of the vertical play here, kind of. You're still looking at the sledge in the pocket. You're still looking at the sort of places that verticality might happen. Around kitchen becomes a little bit more awkward because you can't sort of do it from range and try and avoid C4s. And obviously if you're trying to get quick clarity across the map, which sometimes you might have to if you're a slower team, it's easier to do it at the buck to sort of swing between the skeleton key and a gun and go for a little bit of a clear and open up your late game rotations in the same breath. Church and Arsenal is where Soniqs are going to start themselves off here. And obviously this was, you know, we sort of have very relevant and sort of recent data because they went up against NIP on this map and they started previously on their attack. It was a couple of missed opportunities. It was a couple of timeouts. It was a couple of, they were sort of just breaching onto the site. The first being probably, I mean, it's 2 of the rounds yesterday. In fact, both of them on Church. They ran out of time on their attack.
Yeah, and that was due to the fact, as I just mentioned, the big issue was the diffuser being dropped time and time again. NIP going for that hero play, somehow finding the drop onto the ground, and with that, play the timer until the very last seconds and find a response, find a win as a result. And that is something they need to prevent from happening right now. They need to keep that diffuser in control, because I have to say, back then they were very efficient at opening everything up. The attacks, they seemed very good. They were in 5v2 situations, but it's just those last 10 seconds and the diffuser gets found by an NIP player that went like unseen before. That seemed to be the doom and gloom on the side of the Soniqs. So they have some clear pointers to work on here, and I'm sure they have. Because when I walked back and I said to Joe, bro, nice try. I mean, you did what you could. He's like, no, there is definitely things that we could have improved on. And surely they have by now, as MNM starts on the attack first.
They had set themselves up with a little bit of an aggressive fight there to cancel. He was waiting for Rexen even, I believe it was the Jaeger actually, that was waiting around. Yes, the Jaeger was sitting and sort of hoping to have an engagement on obviously the door, which when you're looking at a very tall site at this point, you're looking at the church take and you're looking at a handful of players that wait and C4s out of the breach there onto the construction wall. They're trying to find, well, anything from MNM. They're sort of making them feel uncomfortable. They're playing against this approach. A little bit of a scrape over the top of Solotov as they slip away, but no damage dealt, just a bit of a cautionary tale. Users is going to see if they can try and get the pinch from the opposite side as Yeti is trying to reconvene with the rest of the players. They've gone for this taken clarity. You can still see that Super has some presence inside kitchen, I believe, at this moment in time. So he's underneath. No, he's gone all the way back, actually, from rotating around.
And just quickly making a way back towards the side. This is wasting time, making themselves known. Hey, we're upstairs, and then suddenly falling back around a certain timestamp. It's not too uncommon, actually, to see. And with that, you waste that time from MNM. You try and make them drone. They see you, you fall back, they need to drone again, suddenly you're no longer there. A lot of time gets wasted, and as a result, there's only a minute and 15 seconds left now. As hatches still need to be opened up, and MNM is only just finding a little bit of safety inside that first floor. And as the Twitch drones are starting to come out, and Tyrant is looking to find a way in as well with a drone to see whether or not blue will be clear. MNM is clearly looking to find an entry somewhere to base their push around.
As I said, opening up those rotations and playing this dangerous long-arm game here is one that taking rid of the, or getting rid of the buck even makes it a little bit more challenging, but it was MNM's choice. So the Sledge is going to have this little dangerous dip dance as they try and crack their way across the top. Without the Guide and the Thatcher, it's a pretty standard take here with the aggression that might come through. They obviously have the Maverick, they have that slow burn, and then the exothermics to try and make things a little bit faster. Kitchen hatch still closed, and with 30 seconds, it seems like they're just going to see if they can swing their way through. The grenade actually took out the smoke canister there. They aimed for a player, but got that instead. It's still a blur utility, and that allows Nilo to go for a drop. Neo's stacked up on the main stairs as well. Rexen is a backline against two players. They're going to see if they can get rid of him, but his pipe starts to be broken open and taken over. Kansan pulls himself just out of range of the smoke canister. Nello has a different idea. Yeti and Users and Tyrant all over the board. Yeti with another swing, but look at the timer. He's the only player left, but he's in the perfect position. No! Users has that locked off on the far side, and they didn't have much time, but they knew what to do with it.
They definitely did. The force through the triple wall there was going to be successful in the end. The pre-fire coming through, I'm not quite sure if there was a drone in place that gave them that information or if it was experience coming out from the side of Nello that he knew exactly that, you know, it is often a place that people sit at. Let's just go for that pre-fire just to be sure. And with that, you pick up an important kill, one that could counter you if you try and get the defuse down. And MNM, they find their first attacking round. It will be CCTV Cash coming up next. However, it is a little bit of a different side, but also one that everybody knows how to attack. I mean, we spoke about Oregon and how everybody knows the map. The same goes for Clubhouse, with especially CCTV. It is a clear step-by-step plan, and there is basically only two takes you could really go for. Either you go for a default plan behind the server rack. You open up the balcony wall, the double wall that goes outside on CC. You take control of garage, and afterwards you have free reign to go, and you just need to make sure that you bait out utility. C4s, smoke canisters, and potential players from below, so a lobby presence is nice. The other way around would be to open up that balcony just so you can cut off any rotations back from the garage. And then you go for a construction site push, so you go for the cash room itself. As our observer Medics is currently highlighting, through that wall that Yeti is currently putting up a Mew Gemmer on. Before there was only 2 walls, so sometimes you saw one wall reinforced, the other one was left soft, so there was a way to challenge with, of course, a bit of security. This time, or with the latest changes, it became a singular wall. So it is now close or open up, which is often turned into closing it up just to make sure you have that safety.
Rexon once again looking for an early challenge here, but nobody is home. This time it seems like Kansan is going to be the player up on the rafters, a massive power position to keep him locked in, and a powerful gun with the ADSs for some support. Yeti, he's going to wait for this hatch to get opened, and then he's going to see if he can try and take the engagement behind it. There's the reveal. Doesn't trust taking the fight and doesn't want to throw the C4 this time around, so instead pulls back. Again, it's expectations. They probably expected MNM to pull away because MNM expected a C4. At that point, it's worth holding onto the utility because there is still a lot of verticality, and we know Yeti likes to try and exploit that.
Try and exploit it indeed. The Roams have been quite strong in Oregon, and he's trying to put one up right now as well, near the logistics area. And as they have done the work with the sledgehammer, it's now up to Neo. He is the next one in line to start opening up the wall onto CCTV cache. And with Tyrant using the Jackal here, he might actually be able to spot out some of these feet. Tyrant, swinging around the corner, receives some freeze fires. At least knows that Jetty is quite close as he returns fire towards the Jacuzzi wall. He's in a bit of a stalemate here. Neither of them are picking each other up, as Tyrant actually goes quite low and is forced to drop the hatch for survivability.
I think at that point, even if you got the feed, it doesn't matter if you're an active firefighter, as Yeti proves. He's able to take care of Solotov. They've now lost that sledge. They've lost grenades outside of the ones in Neo's pocket on the far side. There was a bit of a surprising take, even for Tyrant, I think, at that moment in time. He was gifted the player on the corner. Grixer with a great take over the top. But it's a little bit late to save Yeti's life, and it's back and forth. Tyrant is obviously still injured, but this time he's able to get a scan without actually having the pressure applied onto him himself. They are now going to see if they can try and solidify the site, but obviously losing the Twitch and losing the sledge, even though they've still got the capabilities of the hard destruction, and with Tyrant going down as well, they might be about to lose everything but hard destruction. Gritcher catches himself a Pokemon.
Indeed, the impact nade used there to pick up the very first kill. The Soniqs are looking to fight back. They want to make sure that they're staying on this, and they want to take this with a 2-0 fashion themselves as well. A quick opening attempted to be made there by the Caritas of Grixer, but quickly realizes as well there was going to be that Mew Gemmer, unfortunately taken out from below, which forces the opening to be made. The exothermic in control. The grenade comes in, but it somehow drops back down before it can do too much damage. Which the player was already stepped up onto a desk as well. Grixer was in that safe space, but needs to be very careful as Neo comes right up on the balcony right here, repelled. Now trying to take the gunfight, loses his life. It's a triple from Grixer, and as the smokes are coming through, flashbangs are being tossed back in. It's Kansan with the very final kill, and the Soniqs, they hold off CCTV quite successfully.
It was the play that happened around Gym. They sort of tried to go for a hefty Gym and bedroom take. They wanted to push their way across, then get into obviously logistics and construction, give themselves a little bit width, get construction wall open, and try and force the back line of red that way round. But the hold that Soniqs had, they had already got themselves in place in position to fight against that. They were consistently trying to find the firefight. They weren't giving over territory. They weren't trying to lean into the aggression that was otherwise being put, you know, before them entirely, but they also weren't entirely pulling back. They were making sure that they were sort of swinging and spraying and then going back into logistics and then maybe flirting with the idea of going a little bit wider onto the top of brick stairs, and then now we're back in construction, and that idea made MNM uncomfortable. Obviously, the Jackal had to drop out and was able to get the kill from the huge rotation onto the main stairs, but the work of sort of dibbling and dabbling was good enough to just, well, take bodies in time.
Alrighty then, we continue. The gym in the bedroom is up next. Church opted to not go back to yet by the Soniqs themselves after MNM found massive success out there. Able to just force themselves through the triple wall. They had nothing to deal with it at that moment in time. The smoke canister also slightly misplaced, allowing for the plant to eventually, well, not come through, as the kill came in the end right before Nello finished his job of pressing F. I don't know what it is in Croatian. Medics, what is CCI plant in Croatian? Trying to...
Are you listening to Medics right now?
I'm listening to Medics, but I have no clue.
Well, you're not going to be able to repeat that because that's not...
I don't even know.
You're asking him for two different languages translated into...
Yeah, it's...
you want to know what yes in Croatian is?
It doesn't exist in Croatian.
You just need the word yes.
They just say... They don't say anything, they just plant.
Okay, enough about that. Let's have a look at the site itself, because the pressure Well, it's coming from deep, but it starts at CC. The same way that we saw a clear come from one side to the other. Here it's a little bit more traditional, and they're going to get some pings on the players back on the red, but you sort of knew that they would be there. Rexon, he's buried behind a shield and a lot of reinforcements and walls and solidity over the course of CC. It's how you get rid of him. They've gone for the big breach, as most teams do, but it's not just a matter of trying to swing and bounce grenades around. There's concern of the loose Soniqs players. There is one all the way down underneath, currently an armory, and it's just keeping a cautious sort of eye on the chance of that return. You assume it's Kansan.
You can make a guess. Actually, Yeti. That is.
Oh, is it Yeti?
Down on the bottom
Okay.
floor. Yes, of course. He
It's been sort of
flank man.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, on this map so far, Yeti's been more on site, and Kansan's been more on an adventure. But I guess Grix is going to be on the adventure so far of hey Nello, goodbye Nello. Locks it off. They're able to get a bit of a breach there. Was that a potential jump out? It was a swing by the looks of it. They weren't able to stop him. Solotov suffers massively, wants to try and take a fight here, but it's a huge sort of gambit. The diffuser is cold and Yeti is directly underneath, but Tyrant is right behind Yeti. The creep round the corner, it's a crouch walk, it's a reveal, and it's a take of that loose player.
I was going to say, he doesn't even use the Inox scanner there to figure out whether or not he was still there. Probably a drone was in that position. They called it out. They went for the hunt. They managed to bring it back to an equal scoreline. Solotov, however, is still quite low, so has to be a little bit careful with how he proceeds in the round. Preferably not be in that front line, but work a little bit from the back, hold these angles and potential flanks. As Rexon, aware of the fact that someone could be coming up on these red stairs here, spots out the player, gets the kill. It's Tyrant down. Solotov in an injured state as well, needs to drop back. As Users finds a response, it's Grixer to drop, but it's only up to Neo now. He needs to go and help up his teammate as the lulls are coming out of in the chat. As he takes a couple of shots right there, he finds himself into safety, at least for now. And he's debating whether or not he should tell Solotov to drop or if they just pick him up on the balcony here. It is quite dangerous as someone was still around, but the rest of the Soniqs, they have already fallen back towards the actual side. They know they have the advantage here. There's only 20 seconds left on the clock, and MNM, they need to force themselves through yet once more.
It's going to start here, over construction with a handful of seconds. Kansan's on the position to go for a swing, and Solotov, well, he's about to open a door. There's one, there's two! Kansan has the full stop on a round that was a little bit of a swirling sentence between the two teams. Started by, I assume, a jump out there of Grixer based on where the diffuser was and based on where we saw Grixer be at the end of it onto construction window. Soniqs get themselves their second round. Do you know who else has got themselves a second?
Is it Empire by any chance?
It is.
Okay.
It is.
I just took a gamble down there. I'm like, maybe they're done by now, but okay.
I know we didn't give a spoiler warning to that one, but...
No. But hey, Soniqs is already in anyway, right? At this point. So we've already knew that they were able to qualify themselves for the playoffs, and that is going to be the takeaway for this matchup. However, there is a lot more at stake for MNM as they had that first place still available to them. I'm not quite sure what actually would happen if Soniqs takes this 2-0. Can we quickly flip over the book towards the group stage?
Oh, well, this was yesterday's.
Oh, okay. I'll pull it up.
Stat person.
I'm pulling it up. I'm taking the time because I'm thinking we might actually find the Soniqs not be in that fourth place. And if they do manage to get out, which I'm checking as we speak. Oh, that is spicy. Right, so Empire taking that win.
So they're on 8.
They're on 8, are now in first place. MNM are in 6 and NIP are on 7. Which means that if MNM takes this 2-0, they will also be on 8 and they would have the head-to-head over Empire. However, if the Soniqs win this with 2-0, they'll be on 7 points.
Have the head-to-head.
And knock MNM down into 4th place into the group, which means that they lost their extra life and will be sent down to the lower bracket instantly. So certainly this match, with the result on the other side of things, have gotten so much more interesting in terms of seeding point, because it is the battle for 4th place.
I mean, we have it all sort of threaded together there. We have an idea of how everything's coming together, and obviously the way it works out with NIP taking MNM 2. For context, NIP, I believe, are entirely solidified. They are in 2nd place. They have the head-to-head against both Soniqs and MNM. So Soniqs and MNM are currently playing for that 3rd, 4th divide. Whoever wins gets that extra life, gets that extra swing of the bat of the game.
Yeah. And that's how important it will be. It's either an extra life or you'll lose it. That is the important seat of this map. Actually, this map, because I think that if MNM pick up 1, they will be over the Soniqs.
Well, that's nuts.
That's it, you know. So Soniqs, they really need to make sure that Clubhouse goes their way. And with the vertical angles currently being created by Solotov, he just misses out on an opportunity to pick up onto a Soniqs player. It's going to be Claymores set up. They want to make sure that everything is ready to go when they do go for a final execute, because they know there is no roamers currently. They need to focus on opening up these hatches, but a Nitro Cell could be pre-placed, set and ready to go if Grixer is feeling like it. Might even be waiting for a potential plant, using it as a countermeasure.
Well, obviously the mirror is that stretch. They have themselves with some angles here. The exothermics are going in similar places before. Solotov, he might try and do a little bit more work onto kitchen and make sure this back line onto pipes isn't populated. That's that reason that line gets open, so nobody can just go for that swing all the way around onto the back as soon as they go for a drop. But Grixer, he decides he wants to sort of move into the territory regardless. Caught on a drone though, he quickly moves back out. It's not worth losing your life, especially as you're still sort of burning time. Yeti's on the far side, keeping the dirt tunnel under their control, and the first time kitchen hatch is being opened. Obviously the change was the Maverick was pulled away. Instead they've gone with a little bit more of this pacey aggression. I pointed out that Maverick can open a lot of stuff, but it's slow, and slow isn't really the ammo that they want with how close things were to the breach and the break before. Solotov, he's waiting for this to get popped open, hoping somebody's behind that final box. Tyrant wants to try and creep his way past the barbed wire. Everybody is stacked and stopped, ready to go. It's just waiting for the pull of the cord, and it might start here. The rip against Rexon doesn't quite get the same effect they want. 20 seconds, a hop back up and a quick foot, but it's Nello and Solotov that go for the aggression. The drop, Nello's in the corner. You assume the canisters are going to pop over the top two. Solotov has Grixer on the back of the big box, but the diffuser is cold. The same problem Sonic suffered yesterday. Neo goes for the recollection, but Kansan has it all cleared out. Yeti with the swing if he needs to. It's Users that takes the fight. Drop down one more. Solotov. Soniqs, their third in a row.
The timer runs out there, and even though they had the entry, you already saw it, a little bit of damage being done. Flashbangs that were being tossed in left, right, and center, but just that one slip, just being able to pick up Nello, so important, because that forces a second to drop. Yeti comes out of the dirt tunnel, picks up yet another kill, and a third one needs to go for the drop as well, and he just picks them up one by one, and slowly but steadily secures the ramp for Soniqs, who are now leading 3-1, and are looking to pick up that third place. That is what they're playing for right now. Suddenly the upper bracket is within reach. That is what they will be aiming for here. After a good round. Onto the defense on that bottom floor. And they'll be going back towards the CCTV area now. They held on to that quite well. It came back to a Grixer triple kill. It was a lot of damage done to the sides of MNM, of course, on the other side of the map near the bedroom area. Something they need to prevent from happening on the attack this time around. Whereas the Sonics still gladly replay that round exactly how it went before to make sure that, you know, you can just continue on like that. Either way, 3-1. The Sonics in that lead have that one map advantage currently as well. They won the map pick of MNM, which was Oregon, and now are looking strong on their own. Clubhouse. And they don't want to go to a decider. May that be clear.
Here's a little fun fact I'm just going to throw out.
Okay.
Brackets will be announced tomorrow at noon.
Okay.
Tomorrow at noon. Put it in your timers. Put it in your calendars, your clocks. Put it in everything. Tomorrow at noon. Build some hype.
Let me just set an alarm straight up.
Set your alarm, and I'll set my sights on MNM and Sonics right now as they're still trying to find their way across. It was an even half start on the previous map on Oregon. Club here, Sonics have been able to get themselves locked in on their defense, which, to be fair, based on how things sort of went before, is a much better step up. They're looking confident, they're looking to be in these positions, and currently MNM are struggling to sort of get that read in on these approaches. Obviously, this is the sort of preferred side for against them, and it's trying to get that drive, it's trying to just find some of that mentality, because if they find themselves in the 4-2 split, it's standard. They need to try and just cement that second, though, because if they're going on the 4-1 for the fight on that sort of final one, it becomes much tougher.
It has become much tougher indeed. A minute and 15 seconds have passed just now. You heard some Excars being popped, and MNM have one man down below. Some pings are coming through. It's Tyrant that has a grenade in pocket that seems to be potentially hunting down Yeti. But with the opening of the construction, suddenly his rotation back towards the side became a lot more difficult. Solotov actually jumps off. At the moment, Yeti's coming around the corner. It was an opportunity to pick up the kill, but now grenades are being tossed in blindly here as they thought someone was inside. The drone of Nello gets taken out by the actual grenade that Solotov tossed in. And as a result, they now do not exactly know whether or not that area of the map will be cleared out or not. Tyrant already near the main door is looking through the lounge, hoping to find Rexon in his current position. He's ready for a jump out. He's looking to go for it as soon as he gets the call for the rappel. Pings are coming through on the side of MNM, and it's going to be the pickup here from Yeti, who sneaks around the corner from the baby steps and will be able to pick up the very first kill. Neo, aware of the fact that a jump out could occur, is just waiting in front of the window and looking to find a way to rappel up because they need to attack the site. 45 seconds on the clock. The jump out is being held. Rexon, is he aware of that? That is going to be the big question.
Well, there it is. Full awareness. Usus had the lockdown onto Rexon, and obviously Yeti was not too far away, but it might be the second swing that comes through here where they know he's gone to stock. They might not know. Usus, he's going to give the game away. The spray doesn't quite fully connect, but he's so injured and so between two players. It was only super to be at the end. Neo suffers on the approach. Grixer finds the end, and Yeti with a C4, and suddenly it's all fallen away from MNM. Soniqs just entirely closed the door there on the approach, on the multiple different angles they tried between Red and Construction. It was locked out. They went for the same push as before, but this time, well, same result as the last time, to be fair. Soniqs 4-1.
Attack was too slow from MNM, and the Soniqs played perfectly into that. They had some roamers about. They rotated around at the very right moment because as soon as the drones started coming in from MNM, Solotov jumped off the construction balcony. At that moment, it was actually the rotate coming in from Yeti as they used grenades to get rid of logistics. No one was there anymore. It's missed utility. And Yeti being able to go to the baby steps to pick up their very first kill. Crucial for the Soniqs, because that means that that launch control is no longer in the hands of MNM, and they have that verticality if they would need it.
Okay, Soniqs, can you get yourself your fifth? Gym is where we're going to go to, and you know, since that early round where Church went away from you with some ferocity from MNM, it has been a sort of Sonic show here on your defense. You've been able to really wrap yourself into this game, and it's almost that mirror image of how it went before, except this time you're sort of in the driving seat. One difference, and it turned into a 3-3 split, so it's almost, but not quite. You've been able to do one better. It seems like you sort of have this pressure onto MNM. MNM, as you said, it was a bit slow, it was a bit cautious, which seems to be this word that's overhanging. They haven't quite been able to get that consistent lock in there. The back line of Neo and Nello hasn't quite been able to pop off Solotov as well, who was huge during the qualifiers to get them here, and the run, obviously, in CL too. All of the players carried themselves.
They definitely have. But their biggest enemy strikes them again, which seems to be time.
Damn it, time.
Not as in timing in the round, but actually the CET clock, that doesn't seem to favor them. And the Soniqs, they are just playing perfectly fine as well. They're completely playing into the weaknesses of MNM currently. They're slowing them down just enough, so there's not really anything they can do. They start to go for drops to the kitchen hedge in those basement takes, and they just take them out one by one. Give them nothing else, however. Just when you need it, you swing it. And right now, as MNM have opened up quickly into the CCTV, it's only step one of many to actually end up in the gym area. We never really see the pressure coming down from the jacuzzi from the get-go on the side of MNM. And that gives the opportunity for players like Super, like Kenzen, to rotate around through the back of the side if the need may be there. As the pressure comes in from below first, they want to take CCTV cache under control. It is their priority. But they need to get that red stairs under control first, and the cache as well.
They have a player not too far away. Do they know that he's just on the opposite side of the lobby door? It's a wide swing. Not quite wide enough. They are watching. Solotov has the scent. Does Solotov have the kill? Yes. Yeti wasn't entirely sure and confident, and as they pull themselves away, suddenly it turns into the situation of they're free to fish for grenades underneath. The shield gets popped, and Grixer goes through it.
Okay.
He didn't want to be in there, and I don't blame him, because he knows that behind that is going to be a heftier push and probably a second grenade.
Yeah, of course, there is going to be more utility tossed in, but it leaves Rexon alone. He will be able to pick up the very first kill, instantly traded out by Tyrant Doe. Puts it into a 4-on-3 situation. Still in favor of MNM, and this time more time on that clock. 80 seconds left, and there is plenty opportunity to go for here. However, the Soniqs, they still have only that one-man deficit. It's easy to fight back from, especially with everybody back on that side, looking to retake control of the logistics area as well. Grixer close on the window. Will be potentially able to find a kill onto users. I believe that is playing closer. Grenades are being tossed in, getting rid of these evil eyes. Have they managed to find the right time to strike, which Grixer is currently trying to achieve? No C4 left in hand, but the reload is about to be completed. The jump out is there, and the kill gets confirmed. That's exactly what they needed, and as they try and push themselves through back into billiards, Kenzen finds one as well. Nello gets picked up, but Tyrant below will at least confirm Grixer. A 2-on-2 with 35 seconds left on the clock, and the Soniqs are back in it.
Well, that grenade was always going to pot him just behind the billiards table. Now, they've got to see if they can flood their way in. 30 seconds. The main stairs is going to be the next point of ingress. It is such an awkward fight, made even worse when you're revealed by the camera. Neo has to cause a little bit of noise and a little bit of commotion on the opposite side to allow the swing. It does not get allowed. Super is able to get one more, and there is one more. Soniqs, 5 rounds to 1 up on Club.
Well played by Dam. They were in that man deficit from quite early on. Even a lot of damage dealt as well due to, of course, that Goyo shield, which, you know, Grixer had to push back through it. It is not something that you'd like to do, but you said it yourselves. It is for terms of safety. This jump out, so important. On that reload, on that finger, suddenly the whole highway presence is gone. And you don't have to worry about these windows anymore. They'll be coming from the inside. And exactly that happened. And the Soniqs are up 5-1. 2 more rounds they need to lock in 3rd place. And with that, proceed to the upper bracket.
It's been a bit of an up and down run for both these teams. And I think that's the fairness of this group is it's been a tricky group. And it's got the stories of potential. It's got the stories of huge teams that can lead themselves in. But here, the fact that it's come down to this and the fact that it came down to the Empire game earlier on today as well against Sandbox, there really was a mixed bag of teams of all high quality and sort of different ways. But the way that they've boiled themselves down at the end of this is a 5-1. Soniqs up, and I think there's a reason everyone's predictions are pretty crazy.
They are pretty crazy. I actually don't know who I went for in this game. I think I was really doubting between MNM and Soniqs because at some point I was like, the Soniqs, they really badly need it, but MNM kind of do as well. They have the opportunity to lock in 1st place. So it wasn't like a team had nothing left to play for, like we'll have later with Damwon Kia, for example, who are 5 points clear of every other team in the group and is still playing today. That is how dominant they have been in their group. They can literally just do whatever they want, switch up all their roles for that best of 3, and it wouldn't even impact them that much. But either way, we are not at a Damwon Kia game. That will be later today. We are here at Soniqs MNM, and the Soniqs are a map up, and now 4 rounds as well. Only 2 rounds away from locking it off and pushing themselves into the 3rd place of the group, right behind the Ninjas in Pajamas, after Empire have locked in their 1st place.
If Soniqs can get off to a good attacking start here, they can put themselves on map point 6-1. I mean, they make things so awkward and uncomfortable for the approach there of MNM. MNM, they've got to see if they can try and just lock it off, build themselves before they have to rebuild a much more stressful divide. Soniqs are 2 rounds away from locking out this series 2-0 and pulling that full 3 points and securing themselves an extra game and an extra lifeline. But MNM have done big comebacks before.
They have made big comebacks before, and I mean, just an example of it was that close European qualifier, which is, of course, the running meme right now. It wasn't even on their welcome card. They went down to the lower bracket, and they went through a full best of 5 in the end to make it and get to the Six Invitational, where they beat a team that basically kept them out of the European League a year before that day. So a little bit of a comeback coming through. It's a freshly promoted team taking on, well, the top seed of North America, the Soniqs right now. And you can start to see it here. They are absolutely dominant on their defenses here on the Clubhouse area. MNM, even though they had man advantages, were not able to lock it out in the end. And now they'll be on the defense themselves, and the Soniqs get to portray their brilliance in attack on this map, their expertise. And Yetis tries to open up at least a little bit for potentially a grenade right through, as you see it being prepared right now. That should take care of at least a small hole and create an angle for him to potentially find a head from, as he does find a little bit on Tyrant.
Ooh, just a scratch, just a scrape, and Tyrant pulls himself a bit further back, knows the danger of the angles that come through, but it's Kansan that almost gets a bit back. There's another bit of a legs. It's the C4, though, that secures Super and takes care of the diffuser carrier. At that point, he'd done his job. With the hatches open, the Thermite's been able to get some of that put together. Solotov, however, makes things a little bit more awkward. They've got to take a hot drop with a 2 versus 1 versus 5. MNM have set up a firing line, and they've made sure that anybody that even eyes the floor below is going to, well, not meet it with their soul still intact. A flawless from MNM to open their defenses.
First flawless we've had, and here as well, time seemed to be an issue. At the moment, Soniqs were basically forced to find an opening, but there was not really anything MNM was gifting them at that moment in time. And as a result, they managed to take the win in the first flawless round in this series, because we haven't had any yet. As we continue right now, no tactical timeout being called for now. Soniqs, they have that little time left, you know, they can wait 1-2 more rounds before it's time to call for it and potentially try and bring it back. Also, last game, no tactical timeout called. Joe Bro decided that it was probably better to let the team sort things themselves and really utilize it if it came down to it in the end there. Of course, they were never at a map point disadvantage. Now, they still are not, and they have the odds to reach that point first. They have the odds and the percentages and everything like that to be the first to reach the 6 mark. And with that, get a match point, a luxury that is not in the hands of MNM anytime soon.
All the way to gym. All the way to gym, we find ourselves circling and setting up for a slightly different pool with that Frost on the board. It means things are a little bit awkward. You don't truly expect people to get caught in those, but you've got to deal with them. And it limits that fast push play that we know Soniqs like to do. Double stacked shield on the top and the slightly higher top of red stairs to give them the swing onto the breach if it happens on CC, and also a little bit more caution if they want to try and watch down the stairs itself. It's sort of a stack of utility. It's a heavy cost to make sure that you can have it as a bastion. You've got to ensure that nobody's able to truly get just a grenade in, which would absolutely devastate everything.
Alrighty, 2:30 on the clock, and Super is looking to open up quickly here onto the jacuzzi wall. There might be a new jammer. You saw the drone there was quickly struggling, however, that doesn't seem to be the case. It's further back, it's at the bathroom area, and that means an opening can be made and will be detonated as we speak. Jacuzzi has been opened up, and MNM, they are quite heavily around the CCTV area, but 2 shields, look at that, by the way, a couple of reinforcements, 3 ADSs, everything is out there. The Super will now be opening up into CCTV as well. At least their utility hasn't been in vain. Let's just put it up like that, because I was afraid for a second as soon as the opening in Jacuzzi came that everybody would just pack it up and move it all back towards the side itself. Not the case, of course. And this first smoke canister got used, I saw in the overview, near the actual logistic hatch. They were afraid that a quick drop might come through on any of these Soniqs players. Not the case. As Kansan tries to put up some pressure onto these red stairs, it's a grenade that will follow shortly and takes out at least one of those shields and puts Neo in a bit of a rougher position.
There it is, a rougher one for users though. Taken out and grenaded off the board. They still actually have both the shields. The ADS was able to catch it, and that grenade didn't quite roll to the place it needed to be, but the drones are still working away, and it might have destroyed, it probably did, that original ADS. There's still the one that's closest to the shield, but that's sort of more of a do or die. There's a swing over the top, and Kansan!
That is unfortunate.
Connects with Neo, is able to find the kill themselves. Solotov just has to get out of there at this point. It's a 5 versus 3. You do not want to give them a 5 versus 1 engagement, trying to just desperately hold on to the backside of construction. It was a bold take, a bold swing, and it's something that's rewarded them as they go to set themselves up here across the opposite side. They are looking for that hold, they're looking for that angle, and you can see Solotov's gone for a bit of width there back across logistics. He's going for the hold and the pressure.
Have to be careful though, there is frost mats on these windows, I am pretty sure. Tyrant, of course, playing that operator, so a jump in from the highway might not work out in the bedroom itself. The gym seems to be a little bit more safe, but Nello is the shark that's hiding in there as Tyrant spots out one of these players. The pressure now soon will be on Nello, who's hiding right behind the gym. Wait, Super is trying to get a bit of an angle in as well. The Selms are being tossed in, but denied by the side of Tyrant. Solotov will be able to pick up a kill, but instantly gets traded out. It's a 3-on-2 situation now as Nello tries to rotate back. Tyrant falls. It's only up to him now. It's the Croatian sensation that needs to keep them through. 15 seconds on the clock. Is he able to successfully do it? But no, he is not. It is the Soniqs that push for a map and match point here on the gym side, and that leaves them with 4 more rounds where they have the opportunity to take the series.
That's it. It's match point, it's map point, but it's series point. It could be a quick day at Clubhouse here for MNM. They have 4 rounds. They need to try and pull back. They opened up on their defense well, but you cannot just build it off of Church. They've got to have a flawless 3 plus 1 extra if they want to have that rotation. Bar stage.
That is very brave, I'm going to say. I mean, they found success at Church. That is currently locked. At this stage, it is the entire series at point. And they clearly do not have faith in their CCTV lineup. That is what we can conclude out of that. So the bar on the stage, they will be used. And MNM will be playing it. We haven't seen it that successful over this Six Invitational yet. In general. Haven't seen it too successful yet. So the Soniqs, they have a good chance of locking it off here, or MNM must have thought of something genius for this site, for this map, and decided that that is exactly what they need to stay in it.
Okay, MNM, now the stretch and the pressure is on you. Soniqs, their problem yesterday was, well, they would get very close to map point and then sort of fizzle. Here, they had that pop. They have that little bit extra of deliciousness that's carried them towards the match point. And MNM, they found themselves unfortunately floundering. The handful of C4s and explosives and the setup and stretch, the intel here is going to be that backline that it's offered. No echo on the board, nothing to give them that sort of safety of pulling themselves further away from the sites. They've got to have those engagements. They've got to make sure that they keep that clarity above and on the back line of Kitchen.
First RC Rotero being used to take out an Evil Eye. Freely taken. Evil Eye just activated and then realized that's it. That is the life of that bubble. That is not going to be living very long, and that's a very important piece of utility instantly taken out by the hands of Soniqs, by the hands of Kansan, who is having an amazing game as well so far. Whereas Rexon lived up in the previous one and completely, well, picked apart MNM for everything they were worth. It's basically Kansan's job right now. Double that, actually, with the use of the RC Roteros, where he takes out the utility on the direct side as well and basically forces them to go for these gunfights in the end. It is 4 match points for the side of the Soniqs, and as they set up anything ready to go for a flank later on, it's Solotov that might just jump right into that Claymore that just has been deployed.
You can hear so much being popped off there, and as you said, the Claymore just under that positioning. Solotov had an idea that someone was there, and he sprays through. He's sort of angling with the stretch, but to be honest, he doesn't massively need to retake territory. It might be a roam later that gets punished, but it's sort of that game of he's still on that up position.
No.
Oh, they knew. Rexon gets the opener there. Tyrant is taken out of it. It's one of the best gunners that they've had so far this showdown and this playday. They're out the board early. Nello, one of the others, is almost suffering here. He's had a couple of moments, but with the pressure coming over from Strip, with the pressure being put against those bodies above inside the bedroom, Soniqs, they're slowly wrapping their hands around this hold.
Definitely trying to wrap it around indeed, as the rest of the Soniqs are trying to get into a position to take that top floor. It is the first kill that comes through. However, Grixer will be able to find a response to Nello as Solotov found Rexon a little bit earlier on. The site has been opened up and they seem to be ready to go for a plant at some point. But they need to get the hatch control. That is the big issue here. Solotov, as long as he plays above this hatch, there is no way they can go for a plant without taking any heavy losses. Super, however, gets in the middle of the smoke and will decide to sneak it in. The C4 does not actually go through. They have to try and get the verticality, but they fail. Solotov goes down, the plant comes through, and the Soniqs are just 2 kills away, 40 seconds out of making it to the 3rd place of their group. And as Jesus rotates down as quickly as he possibly can, long angles are being watched by Yeti all the way back in the strip. Everybody is off the side. MNM, they need to retake now.
They had all the control that they needed, Soniqs, and they are making it work. A GG comes through from Rexon. There's that NASS that has famously been perpetrated across all of this. Grixer with another for his tally, and we hit that marker that means MNM lose the series. GG's to Soniqs, who picked up the pieces of yesterday. It's back and forth for both these two teams, but security is still on the board. And they still have to beat every single other one, so congratulations for now. A day off, and then it all kicks off again.
That's it, they got a day off and they know how much it means. They got the win, they got the improvement they wanted, because yesterday against NIP they struggled a little bit here and there. Some rounds were lost in unfortunate ways where they had massive advantages but lost the diffuser, but they worked on that. They made sure they had the control, they made sure they had the save ground to go for these objective-based plays, because that is exactly what Soniqs is about. They want to get these plans down, and they successfully did so here today as well. They take the win, they take the third place, they take the extra life. And MNM, as they started off great, unfortunately for them, will be ending in that fourth place spot and be a team confirmed for the lower bracket in 2 days.
Well, that's it. They gave it all the fight that they could, and obviously it's been, as we said, up and down for both these teams. But security is here, and you know they'll be having a lot of conversations, scrims and practices before they get back into it, because well, there's still a lot of work ahead of them. Soniqs 2-0 off the back of 0-2 yesterday from the OTs that we saw versus NIP. They were able to at least get an upswing to the end. MNM, unfortunately, they end on a little bit of a downer.
A little bit indeed, and well, they'll probably, you know, they said it before they even started already. The early games, they don't really suit them, but how long can you go on that at some point, right? I mean, small mistakes were definitely made. There was also moments of greatness within the roster, just unfortunately, they weren't quite able to translate it into maps at the end. Whereas Soniqs, they were able to. Their defenses were super strong on the side of Clubhouse. 5 in a row in the end there, and eventually locking it off as well with just a 7-2.
But enough about us. Let's throw it to a break and head over to our analysts to break that series down.